What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Season Gaming Bitcast, episode 287. It is a fine Sunday morning here out in Kansas City, and we have all four of us finally back together, guys. Man, it has been a year so far. Travis has got he's got his I don't even know what kind of dance you call that. I'm just calling it a dance. Travis dance.
Shimmy.
Yeah, shimmy. Yeah, that's good. That's good. We'll go with a shimmy, but it's good to be back. Oh man, I'm excited to be back. It has been it's been a journey this year so far with so much going on and holidays and everything else, and Travis traveling internationally and all kinds of things going on. What?
We lost Travis.
We lost Travis already.
I gotta send you guys a text. This is the most hilarious thing. One sec.
The opening's going smoothly when we just
the opening's going smoothly when we interrupt with I'll send you guys a text.
Sorry, before the show, I was talking to you guys about a raven that was outside my window. It's been just squawking up a storm, and then while I was sitting here, I get this message from the San Francisco Chronicle. And it says SF is teeming with crows. Here's why the bird population has flourished. And then it's got a chart of crows and ravens, and both of the lines are like really far up. I just sent you guys the screenshot. Like we were literally just talking about how there's a raven outside my house screaming.
We were chatting before the show, and Travis is being hunted by a pack of ravens, or a murder of crows, if you will.
Murder of crows.
So, but anyway, what's going on, everyone? Good to see everyone in the chat. It's good to be back. Like I said, we were expected to have Detective Seeds with us here today. Sadly, I don't know if I'm going to schedule him to be a guest on Bitcast anymore. He got some very, very sad news overnight, and his mom passed away early this morning. So he texted me super early this morning. Obviously said he's not going to make it. So if you do follow him and you're listening or watch the show, please. He posted about an hour or two ago. Just wish him the best, of course. But otherwise, we will. The four of us are here for the first time in a while. We've got a lot to talk about. Obviously, a lot of games we've been playing. There's some big news items that have come out over the past several weeks, and we will dive into those here shortly. Of course, we've got to catch up on a couple Tide picks because Tide hit us with some Easter picks, which she's been saving for a couple weeks, and I will just say that one of them is kind of cute and one of them is horrifying. So, we'll start with cute, I suppose.
Oh God!
Just throw those up there. One? No, this is not the horrifying one. Just wait. Wait
a minute. Like not having hair really kind of does us some injustice here because we just look like
no
rabbits.
As a bunny. You look like a shaved guinea pig. You're an experiment.
Like a little bit of hair up on top of me. Like
Hogue would look adorable if he was not bisected in this photo. He just completely he has no lower body whatsoever. He's covering up just viscera underneath his arms.
I'm leaning on my stomach there. I'm doing a full Goldblum. You just can't see my legs back there.
Oh, okay. I see. I don't believe you.
I like that Travis and Dan have full hands. I have 3 fingers and thumbs, and Hogue just has fingers.
You have paws. I've got human hands on my rabbit, which is weird. Honestly, Ames, you went full cartoon. You have no identifying traits that remain as part of Ames. Like that is just fully a rabbit.
Other than the headset that always gets put on, no matter what I am.
You find your ears, which is crazy. Yeah,
it's on the back of my head.
Yeah, dude.
Funny is I can tell which video the screenshot came from based on my hair in this rabbit photo. So it's like, I know which appearance the AI based its rabbit me on.
Nice.
All right, well, take a guess at which one this was then.
Oh God. Jesus.
Oh my God.
We have to stop AI, guys. I have fully aboard the stop AI trade at this point. Shut it down.
This is why the I part of AI
it down.
is really.
I want to make Dan's a Balatro Joker.
It does kind of look like that. Yeah, that's true. He could be.
Oh,
Dan looks like some cursed image from history for sure. It could definitely be like a historical painting that nobody understands. It's confounded, like, historical artists for years. They're like, I don't know why. I don't know why somebody drew that.
This one's brutal for sure. Vintage Willow says you're all part of Alice Madness Returns. That's probably a good shout right there.
Underrated game.
All of our faces are pretty crazy, but mine is really offensive, I would say. What did they do, dude? That's crazy what they did to my face. Like I'm like all snout. It's weird, dude.
And you have a huge nose, and I love how your hair folds in between your ears.
yeah.
I like that you're wearing a floral print suit jacket in front of a floral print wallpaper. That's just really masterfully done.
Yeah, it's like an indie film.
It is. You're playing the Zach Braff part.
Yeah, exactly.
This is brutal. Audio listeners, it's worth checking out the video just for these images alone. I'm just gonna put that out there.
That's crazy.
All right. Sai, thank you as always. I know she's been saving those for a good laugh, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, they're awesome.
All right. With that, big shout out. Where am I here? Getting back into the swing of how this application works. So
I know that feeling.
Yeah, big shout out to Willow. Gifted 5 season gaming memberships to kick us off today. Willow, thank you so much. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. That is very appreciated. Thank you so much. All right. Okay, well, I'm sure we got a lot of games to talk about and what we've been playing and different things over the past few weeks. Hogue, you were mentioning spring break with the daughters. I know Travis has obviously been traveling, which we're going to talk about as well. What has been going on, guys? Hit me.
I've just been getting fatter. Just kind of sitting around eating food.
What games have you been playing? I've been getting fatter.
I've been playing games with my
That's not a
digestive
game, Dan.
tract.
That's not a game.
Well,
the way he does it, Ames, it's a game, dude.
Yeah,
he's got a scoreboard. He's got win conditions. A fail state.
Win conditions.
Yeah,
as in I'm winded from walking down the stairs, maybe.
Very good.
No, let's see. I have been playing not much. MLB and Rise of the Ronin, and that is pretty much
Those are
it.
games.
I want the crossover.
Yeah.
Rise of the show.
Ronin just runs through the outfield of the Cubs game and just decimates everyone.
MLB the Ronin. Dan, talk to me about Rise of the Ronin.
It is awesome. I think for me, it's a Dan game, but it's also got those. It's the combat is kind of the shining star, and I started off on normal, and I was doing fine. And I hit a kind of a rough patch. I went down to easy for, I don't know, a day or so, and then came back. It's kind of nice because as somebody who doesn't like those kind of Souls-like combat games where you got to be really, really precise and hit those parries just right on. I was, at first I was like, man, this is going to be a long, long game for me to get through. And when I went back to just the normal difficulty, after playing on easy, it kind of it's very accessible. It kind of let me get my footing, I guess. Whereas when I jump into like a Elden Ring or a Dark Souls, I mean, there's no, I can turn it down or anything. You've got to be on the stick. With Rise of the Ronin, it kind of gives you a little bit of breathing room, allowing you to go down to the lower difficulty setting, and then come back and
you can even
change it any time.
You can even jack up the easiness. You can increase the power of your health potions and things like that at that easiest level. Ronin has a lot of buttons.
Oh yeah, there is some. Yeah, there's a lot of It's just really fun. It's the setting for me. Also, I love that Japanese historical setting. Kind of similar to Ghost of Tsushima or the hell was it? The Yakuza game.
All the other games that have come out.
Ichin?
Yeah, Ichin. Yeah, like a dragon Ichin. Yeah, I mean it was. I mean, there's the characters are they're historical, true to life characters, that were taken obviously with some liberties in Ichin and also in this game, but I just love that setting, really.
I think
And
Onimusha convinced me that Nobunaga was a demon lord. So the Asian developers are always taking a little bit of liberty with these things.
Yeah.
Or they're trying to push their agenda.
Maybe.
I don't.
It's all about revising those history books, bro. Gotta tell me who was a demon lord.
Well, certainly Rise of the Ronin stands for America is evil pretty early on, but not as a political statement, really.
Well, also the British.
Not as a political statement? Explain how.
British, what do we ever do? Leave us alone.
The Japanese have a complicated relationship with Commodore Matthew Perry. That's apparent like immediately.
Yeah.
He's
my friend.
And also the actor Matthew Perry. Just in general.
But who does
really complicated.
They weren't friends.
Yeah, they weren't friends.
What's the character building like? Like how do you kind of
so like
does it have any?
Yeah. I mean so you start off, you pick your fighting style, I guess, or whatever it is, and there's like, depending on what kind of weapon you want to use throughout the game, and you can switch it and respec throughout the game if you want to. I just took like the whatever killer was, I think it was called, and that's your katanas, your bigger swords. I can't remember what the hell they're called either. And a lot of skills, different kind of skill tree. Like you have your regular skill points, and you also have these other skill points that you earn through building bonds with other people, doing different missions or finding items, like strength, dexterity, charm, I think intellect. I think the 4 of them, and those are used to also level up, whatever skills you want. It's actually really, really in depth. For I don't know if Team Ninja's ever done a game like this. I know they've really not done like an open world game as much, but like they kind of nailed it with the RPG stuff. But there's also a lot of like bloat. It is bloat goated.
Bloat goat.
For sure.
I refuse to listen to anyone talking about bloat that hasn't played Rebirth.
I haven't played Rebirth yet.
It's got bloat.
Yeah, but I mean, it definitely has some. I mean, but it also, what's really nice about the game is that I love Ghost of Tsushima, and I played the hell out of it. There are times where it's like I got to get to this spot to start this next mission, and it could take me 10 minutes. Just to ride the horse across the dam. This one, everything seems like really, really close. It opens up a lot of fast travel, but even when you don't have to fast travel, like nothing seems super far away from you at any given point.
It's got an auto horse button. So
it's got, you can do that too. Yeah.
Okay.
The graphics are meh, but
they are meh.
It seems to run smooth. I play on performance mode. I don't have any real big issues with the frame rate. Every once in a while it drops, but generally it's pretty smooth. It's just a fun game, and I'm really kind of digging the combat, which I don't think normally I would in a game like this. I think you'd like it, Ains, and I think you could probably jack it up to the higher difficulty, and
I think Ains would love it. I'm willing to stand on that, no question.
Yeah,
but I will tell you this. I really like Ronin. I'll talk about why in just a second. But when I turned it on and I played the first couple minutes or hours, I thought that I had wasted my money. I thought that this was a mistake. I shouldn't have purchased this game. Had a really, really bad first impression. You get a couple of early, smallish linear levels, and I didn't know what I was getting into. But essentially, Rise of the Ronin is the next Ninja Gaiden game. Not from the NES era, from like the Xbox, when it was in its heyday for those Ninja Gaiden Black games, Ninja Gaiden, all those games. Ronin captures that. It's not Neo, it's Ninja Gaiden. And then they add an open world to that. And the combat is so essentially quick and violent and deadly that it really does work for what it's trying to convey and is really enjoyable to play in a way that I did not find with Neo or some of the other games of this genre. It really does feel more like a Sekiro, Ninja Gaiden type experience. And I think that's really going to work for you, Ains. And I think it's got a really good kind of growth curve. I think Dan undersold it a little bit because it's got different skill points for the various different attributes that you have as a character on top of all the other things that are happening in the open world. And so you really do get to build what you want. And then the weapon that you pick is going to change essentially all of the attack patterns that you use. And you can then have different stances that also change how those attack patterns work with each weapon. So you've got like layers on layers of setting up what you want to play as, all with some really great combat that I don't think is matched even by the Dark Souls games that I've played, but I know you guys play them better than me.
Yeah.
But the graphics are 100% meh. They do not have the artistry of Ghost of Tsushima at all.
That's not that big of a deal.
I don't really care about the look either, but I will say, somebody who plays a lot of these Souls-like games, I don't think the combat's that great. I'm playing on the hardest difficulty and haven't really found it super challenging. Granted, I'm like, you said that the beginning was your least favorite part, Ain, or Hogue. I'm probably like 6 hours into it, 5 or 6. So I'm in the open world, but I haven't seen a ton. But I haven't been that impressed. I would say for me, it's probably good, not great where it stands right now. But they keep making these samurai games, and they're kind of like zombie games to me now, where like they just keep making them. And they keep getting worse too. That's the other thing, is like Sekiro was great, and then Ghost of Tsushima, which I liked less, and then Wolong, and then this, and I'm just like, I feel like we've seen this enough, and this isn't better than Sekiro. So I find myself in a little
not much is better than Sekiro, to be fair, though.
Yeah, I mean, I love that game, but
Sekiro is very guardrailed, right? You're going to do what we want you to do, and you're going to do it well. Or you're not going to progress. This is different.
It is. Yeah, it is different. And I think it is going for a different player, which is why it has, different difficulty settings and stuff. But I will say it's interesting enough to where I want to keep playing it. I don't know if I'm going to have time to keep playing it, but for me, it's probably good, but not anything amazing so far.
And
I think personally for me, I enjoy it more than Sekiro. Ghost of Tsushima is a different type of game. Obviously, it's a samurai game, but Ghost of Tsushima is very much that Sony PlayStation over-the-shoulder adventure with an open world where you get character missions like.
Oh, it's definitely the PlayStation template game.
And then this is much more like, okay, you've got these various things in various places. You've got an area of unrest. You can open up a town there if you go and clear out the bandits, and that gets you that advantage. And it'll probably also get you a fast travel point. And then you can go do this over here in a shrine, and that'll get you something and go and grow your character in a way that you want. I think, honestly, the only negative, and I'm not a big graphics guy, is that in the open world, you do have experiences with like a Red Dead for the West or Ghost of Tsushima for samurai experiences, and it's just not matched by what Team Ninja can put out there. So you can't go there just to be like, I can't wait to see what's over the next hill. You can't be a full exploration type player. You have to enjoy that combat, and I do think it holds up better than Travis, but Travis is like killing dragons in the first 10 minutes of Elden Ring, so he's not the same player as me.
No, I'm definitely not either. That's why I like it. I think it's just, aside from the setting, which I love those kind of games, but it's just, I'm just finally glad I know it's not the same necessarily as some of these other games, but it feels like I'm actually, making progress and actually doing something. When I'm in the combat part of it, it feels like I'm, when you hit that, counter spark or whatever it is, and, you watch the guy kind of fly over, and then you hit that button, and it's just one thing after another. And I've never really liked those kind of games where it's just like pattern, do this, repeat, do this, repeat. Always got a new thing, learn that, do this, repeat. It happens so much faster than that you just,
it is so fast.
So fast. And I really
do you like
the
instant deadliness on the hardest difficulty? You get hit once and it feels realistic when you die.
Fun. That's not enjoyable.
It is so fast. I mean, that's what I didn't even remember that I loved it so much from Ninja Gaiden. Like, I haven't played those games in a long, long time. And then I was playing this, and at first, like I said, it's just kind of, what am I doing? This is kind of dumb. It doesn't look great. I shouldn't have bought this. I was convinced by the hype, that kind of thing. And then it's like, no, this is really good. And I missed Ninja Gaiden. I missed those games. Those were really cool things that existed.
Good action games.
And this is that to me.
Okay.
So
yeah, it sounded more and more like it. I should have bought this over. We were talking before the show that I maybe should have bought this instead of Dragon's Dogma 2, which I have kind of pulled away from. It hasn't done much for me. And I know,
yeah, we can talk about Dragon's Dogma.
We will
if we want to get yelled at by the internet.
But yeah,
I also fell off Dragon's Dogma. I think for the most part, Dragon's Dogma is a cool tech toy. It has some cool ideas about physics and not locking on and not having some of those combos that Dan was just talking about, and then AI pawns that are more interesting than you would think based on the first game. But for the most part, it uses all of those toys to tell a story in a world that I find boring. And to some extent, if you're going to ask me to spend my time in a world, I better not find it boring. And so that's what happened with Dragon's Dogma for me.
I think that's, well, let me go back to Rise of Rome real quick, just so I'm clear on it. It is not like Neo. There's no loot, right?
There is loot, but not like Neo loot.
Yeah,
it's not set up like that.
It's more set up like a From game where you can find new items just around the world.
You will like literally, if you fight like 3 guys, right? You will pick up at least 2 weapons and 4 or 5 pieces of gear, and it's really just kind of incremental garbage, until you start finding like the legendary stuff, which is not. It doesn't take very long to get into that point, but and it's got a nice setting where you can, every time you go to like your campfire or your flag or whatever it is, and it'll automatically disassemble everything that based on whatever level it is. So I just have everything just to disassemble or sell it off, whatever one you choose. You can kind of set that up.
Yeah, I have a blood sucking katana,
Okay, because like the Neo games, I always said were interesting to me because I really liked the combat. Obviously, they were going for more of the Souls like there, and I really liked the loot system, which I thought was very well done. But I hated the level design. And now it's sounding like this is more along the kind of a little more open Ninja Gaiden style combat and level design with a little less focus on loot, which is okay. I was just curious.
And for the record, I find it really hard. I know Travis does not, and Travis is playing it only with his toes on the hardest difficulty setting, but I find it really hard.
Not quite.
And I think I lost most of my lives early on to wild boars, not enemy ninjas. The boars murdered me many, many times.
So many times.
I think it's pretty standard on this show, though. Like you've got the left side and the right side in terms of game difficulty.
Yeah, I'm with you.
It is fun on the hardest difficulty. I mean, I think the hardest difficulty is, it's just, I don't know. For me, it takes away knowing that at any point I could just be like, let's lower the difficulty and get through it. I don't know why to me, but
because you're a gatekeeping piece of garbage.
Shut up. He's against the difficulty setting because he's tempted. He's weak.
Not really. Joke.
Come on.
Yeah. But anyway, that's fair. Rick says has way more gear than From games, but nowhere near as much as Neo. So kind of an in between, I guess. That's fair. Okay. Yeah, back to Dragon's Dogma 2. Yeah, I was. I'm maybe 10 hours in. I've only played a few more hours since we last talked because it lost me to, I think you said it well, Rick, which is, it's just, if you're going to make me be in this world that kind of has this open sandboxy, physicky feel to it, right? Where you can kind of do things as you see fit. You got to at least make it interesting. And I haven't found anything interesting to this point.
It's like they don't care to make it interesting for you. They think that the toys are interesting enough, and I think to some extent they're right? And by toys, I mean that AI and what the pawns are doing. Although if they tell me they've seen a ladder again, I'm going to kill them. And I like that. I like experimental type games. We've talked about here. I like the Eurojank games. I like some of the games like that. I'm going to mention one later on, I think, but it just didn't work for me long term. And I tried it a number of times because. I think I've mentioned here, I've been playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth with my daughter. She unfortunately got sick, and so I basically had a week where I couldn't advance that game because I wasn't in an open world area and I didn't have fast travel available. A whole bunch of things that don't really matter, but I couldn't advance that for about a week. And so I was playing a bunch of different things, tried to get into Dragon's Dogma a number of times, and it's just like the most basic fantasy. Here's a troll, here's a mountain, here's a medieval village kind of thing. That just never really attracted me to spend my time there when I could be doing something else. Now, I know a lot of people feel that way about the other games that I would recommend, so I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you're wrong to feel like Dragon's Dogma is awesome, or that that Rick's an idiot because he's not getting how cool it is to be in this total sandbox and physics and darkness and everything else. I will accept all of that. but it just hasn't worked for me.
No, me neither. But that's fine.
I'll speak on the other side. I think the strength of Dragon's Dogma 2 is in its kind of chaos and not handholdiness, and it is a very Eastern RPG design. And it's like I think it does appeal to the same Elden Ring player in that Elden Ring is the kind of game where stuff will happen without you knowing in the background, and unintended consequences, and your first playthrough is probably not going to be smooth and all that stuff.
Excuse me.
I think in some cases it might take that philosophy a little too far with stuff like the Dragon's Plague, where it's like, all right, that can ruin somebody's entire playthrough. I don't know if you guys have encountered that. But yeah, I plan on playing a bit more because I do enjoy kind of the unconventional, unexpected stuff happening, where like a quest might be time gated and time limited, and you don't know that, and your lack of inaction causes somebody to die or a quest line to have a certain outcome. And kind of that to me, that's interesting in a way that, like, Western RPG design is like all about you getting 100% of the stuff and all the missions going your way and getting like the good outcome of the game and that sort of stuff. And so I like that as well, but I think it is a breath of fresh air when you don't see RPGs like this very often, where it's more about kind of like the unexpected chaos. And so there is something interesting about that. Obviously
that's actually why I bought it, is just no guidance, just go do what you see fit, which I love. But I think my problem is what Hogue said, is that and I know I always come back to Elden Ring, so I apologize, but even another, like, let's use Baldur's Gate this time, right? Like, there's going to be some weird, interesting stuff around nearly every corner that you can stumble upon, and I just don't get that from Dragon's Dogma. It's like, oh god, I got to fight more harpies. Oh, I'm going to fight more goblins. Oh, I found a troll, and there's another troll, and by the way, around the corner there's another troll, and it's like, dude, this is boring me to tears. Like, there's just, I don't know.
Or I'll be in a conversation and the troll will go and kill the person I'm conversing with. I mean, it's that kind of thing. And
I find that kind of funny, to be honest.
I don't hate that stuff. I really don't. And I agree with you, Travis, that some of the edges have been kind of smoothed away in a lot of game design now. And I think that is creating a kind of homogenous vanilla sense for a lot of the games. And I've sat here and said I advocate for variety, and it's risk taking. I want to advocate for that risk taking, but the people that take aren't going to work for me in all instances. And for me on this, it doesn't feel interesting enough to engage when I have 600 other things to play. So
hey, hold on one sec, Hogue. I was getting some bad feedback. I don't know if it was your mic or if it was
me. Good to know.
No. Yeah. It was like you cut out a bit, Hogue, and then there was some sharp kind of staticky stuff. I don't know if it had to do with Dan, who happened to leave right at that moment, or not.
I think he thought his earbuds were dying, as I did.
Yeah, I just heard it again.
To me?
No, I think it's on Hogue's side. Sorry, everyone who's listening. Anyway, we can continue the conversation while I sort that out, Travis. But
I think to your guys' point, my problems with Dragon's Dogma 2 so far have been that some of the rough edges go a little too far, especially when it comes to like game design choices, like the way fast travel works, or the UI and UX experience, and like stuff like that. I think a lot of that like goes so far that it stops being novel and starts just being annoying, and gets to the same problem I had with like Death Stranding, which is like a lot of time the game is just boring, even when it's trying to do something cool. There's certain pockets of time where I'm just like, well, this is not really all that compelling or fun.
Yeah.
And so, but I guess I feel like I have to stand up for the game because it is so weird and experimental and tries new stuff and really takes away the Western RPG guardrails of something like a Baldur's Gate 3 and goes the complete opposite direction.
Yeah,
I think there is something really cool to that. Yeah, I think that is really cool.
All right, let me do an audio check.
You sound good.
You sound okay for the moment.
Sexy.
All right. Well, just let me know again if that happens. I've been having some difficulty with my mic, but I haven't recently. So apologies for that.
No, you're good. You're good. It was just one of those kind of hard staticky cuts. By the way, I was playing around with this while Dan was talking about Rise of Ronin, and I couldn't get it on the screen, but I think Yeah,
Bloat goat.
I've got the bloat goat. I've got to fix that. We're gonna make it into GIF form and get that.
Yeah,
working,
there should be like a button that you press where it like does the, you know how they stamp like a sticker across the screen.
Exactly,
you know,
exactly. Yeah,
and it makes like the noise, and then we hear, you know, like if we could get that going, that would be amazing. Bloat goat.
I'll get it. Give me time to work on it.
Can you get a voice to say a bloat goat when it pops down across the screen too?
You just did. All you gotta do is send me yourself saying it, and I'll put it.
Let's just turn this into like a shock jockey radio show where we have like all these weird reaction. Bloat goat.
Oh, it's Tie Guy and the Ains.
Tie Guy and the Ains. Oh my God, he created a great show.
Tie Guy and the Ains.
Tie Guy and the Ains. Saturday mornings. Wah 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 wah.
Ricky and the douche hanging out every Sunday.
Oh my God. Let me shout out one game so I don't forget about it. It's a little game called Saviorless, which is a very small indie game. It's actually the first independent game published out of Cuba, which has been in development for several years by primarily two people. Very small group worked on this. It was originally kind of had this funding behind it that the money ran out because it was only $10,000. And then they continued to work on it for years and, you know, go through trying to find a publisher and all these things. So long story short, the game came out, I believe earlier this week. We reviewed it.
Last year. That's weird.
Say it again.
It says last year. Did it come out on Steam like or way early?
No, it only just came out on Steam this week. I don't know why. That's weird.
Okay.
But anyway, it's a 2D game with like hand-drawn animations, kind of side-scrolling, playing into some mythological stuff. And you know, our review's up on the channel and the site. Ray reviewed it for us, and you know, I think he gave it a 7 or 7.5, something like that. But he kind of enjoyed it. He said, you know, he wished some of the storytelling behind the actual characters was better, but generally it's a really good game. But I just wanted to shout it out because really neat to see. If you read the story about the developer and the two main guys who tried to get this game published, especially coming out of Cuba, and the tensions in trying to do that, it's really interesting. So check that out. Cool. Just give it a look. Yeah,
I've not heard of this one.
And I think the game's like $12. Like it's not, you know, it's not like a $60 game or anything. So if you like those kind of 2D classic experiences from the 16-bit era, but like I said, it's kind of very pretty too. It's got a really nice artistic kind of quality.
It's $12 and on sale, 10% off, $11.69.
There you go. Wait, that math doesn't add up.
10% off? That doesn't add up at all.
It must be $12.99 with 10% off.
$12.99.
Okay,
you're right. Yeah.
Okay.
$12.99 exactly. Boom.
Look at that. Man right there.
Math man right there. He got it in his head, baby. Shit.
That's what I do. What else you got, Hogue? I know you've got like 13 games we haven't heard of on those notes over there. Let me hear.
I think I only have a few that you haven't heard of over here, but I did want to mention one that I was quite enjoying that I think is published by Devolver. So it's not quite out of left field entirely, but it's a game I'm playing called Pepper Grinder.
I did see this.
Which is a 2D kind of action game that takes the notion of like digging with a drill bit and makes that part of the action. So you kind of drill down into soft sand and then use that same power to get up to make big jumps into another area of soft sand, and then you find hidden things around the level. And I really enjoy it. I really like interesting ideas, and I haven't played this type of game before, and so I think that folks would get a kick out of it. It didn't cost a lot. I think it was under 15, but it is a 2D indie type game with an interesting idea and hook, and I think people will get a kick out of it. So I wanted to mention
the way you described that by drilling into soft sand so you can then jump up and drill into more soft sand. Really
very compelling, right?
I'm trying to picture what that kind of game that is. And you know what came into my head was Dig Dug. So I don't know if you've done it a great service there.
Well, it's fair. It's a fair criticism of my ability to describe this game. I find the same difficulty with most Devolver published games. But it's a 2D action game. You go left to right. And instead of just jumping on mushrooms or going in pipes or whatever, you've got a drill bit that's attached to you, essentially. The character's name is Pepper. You're a little girl. and the grinder is the big machine that you have, and you can drill down into the ground, and it's very fast. So you go around that drilling section, and you can use it to be your platforming.
I got you. That makes more sense. Okay.
Beba grinder.
Yeah, I saw it literally on Twitter this morning from someone on my feed.
I like to mention it in games like this because I think it's very accessible. I think people will like it in general. I think it's got a good art style, as Travis mentioned, and I think it's a lot of fun on kind of the baseline level. It's enjoyable to interact with, so I recommend it.
Nice. Before we talk about the next game, let me get caught up on some comments and super chats real quick. Yeah. Dan, you back, boy. Sir?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, he recharged his headphones.
The new earbuds are in.
Scratch.
Yeah. No, I just want to get the Bluetooth. They seem to work better.
Rick Davis.
All right.
Shout out, Rick
Davis. With the member comment, morning guys. Want to send a huge congrats to Luke and Logan at XEP for their first live episode yesterday. Good job, guys. I was lucky enough to be on the wrap-up episode too. Very cool.
Yes. Shout out to XEP. They did do their first live show yesterday. I was helping Luke earlier this week kind of talk through some of the StreamYard options, how you can manage it. So it sounds like it went well. I was working yesterday, so I didn't get to swing by. But yeah, always cool when you do your first live show. So congrats to them.
Cool.
Don,
the $10 super chat. Good morning, Castbit. It's too early for that stuff. I survived my trip to New York City for Sacred Symbols 300.
Nice.
Celebration. Very nice. Still plugging through Rebirth at the point of no return. Did everything. 133 hours. Hard mode for Plat or DD2 next.
Dragon's
How about neither?
Infinite Wealth if you haven't done it, Don.
Yeah,
I mean that's a good one. But if between those two, Dragon's Dogma 2 for sure. Don't replay that game for the platinum.
You have to replay the whole game?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the hard mode for Remake and Rebirth is going through without heals and things.
Yeah, no, don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. Just play Dragon's Dogma 2 if you really.
Sounds exhausting.
It does.
They're fun
for platinum though. Do you need the platinum? How much is that going to help you in life?
Yeah.
Don't get me started.
Right on the top of your resume.
Yeah. You put it on your gravestone.
Too much time.
Don hit us with 3 super chats. So let me
Castbit makes us sound like a fishing podcast immediately. It's kind of interesting.
Do it, man.
That's our next turn.
Castbit. I'm down. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's see
from the
who
boat.
knows about fishing.
Yeah.
Who here has fished? Do you guys know? Have you guys fished a lot?
Dude, you can literally fish in the pond on my property.
Yeah.
I haven't.
That doesn't sound fun though. But I'll be honest.
I have. Yes, I have fished in the ocean and lake. Okay. Yes, I have fished. I'm not a big fisher though. I couldn't talk to you intelligently about it.
Okay, Hogue, fisher. You look.
I have
like somebody who knows a lot about fishing,
but I do not fish a lot.
I could see you in like cargo shorts in a lake or in a river, like fly fishing. Doing the.
Is that how you fly fish? Like
yeah. You.
That's just that's what he calls that dance move at the club.
Yeah, fly fishing. Dan, you fish?
Man. Of course, I can tie all kinds of knots on my line.
Catch a fish with your hands, like scoop it up in
nothing
the river?
To do with fishing. He could just tie a lot of knots.
Yeah.
Can you do that thing where you plunge your hand into a river and have a fish?
No.
Catfishing?
Noodling?
You know that thing where they like karate chop the river and then they have a fish in their hand?
No, we don't do that here in Kansas.
Oh my god. That's good stuff. All right, moving on. Don, thank you. We'll get your other super chats here. Travis is killing me.
With $5. Well, I like Ronin if I don't play Souls likes. It doesn't appear to be one. Play Celebrate demo. Yeah,
but it's not Souls-like required. You don't have to like Souls games to like Rise of the Ronin.
No, I think if you can play Stellar Blade, you're going to be more than good on Rise of Ronin, especially with the difficulty options.
Honestly, Stellar Blade is the more Souls game of the ones you mentioned. Travis is right there.
I would say he's right. Yeah.
Play Stellar Blade with the girlfriend, huh? What did she think about that?
Travis, have you played the Stellar Blade demo?
I have.
This is a game where the main character comes down with a techno lace collar wearing a matching tie. This is, despite what the internet might tell you, a doll dress-up simulator.
Yes.
And it's going to be enjoyed by everyone equally. I promise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think some people are going to enjoy it a little bit more than me.
And I think some people are going to try to make their name with certain publications in decrying the game for reasons that I don't want to go into right now. But I think people at the level that they're playing the game are going to enjoy it.
It is jiggly.
I mean, the creative director is talking about it's jiggle physics, you know, the old ploy. So
my thing about the jiggle sexual conversation that this game seems to have drawn to it, by the developer's request, really, I think that they're kind of drumming this up. It seems like is that I have nothing wrong with sexuality in games. I've been on this show many times to promote dating sims, but I will say for this game, it makes me want to play it less because it's weird. It just is weird to me that is a distracting part of the game that seems to have no place in what the game it is doing. So, but the demo was all right. I don't think it's that good of a Souls-like. Like the combat was. I don't think the timing was right. The boss fight was good, but the fighting against the minions. I was talking to Ebontis about this. Like, it was a little janky to me.
I would agree that it's a little janky. But there's a lot of games that get away with little janky.
That's true.
So I think Stellar Blade will be okay. And I do think essentially borrowing liberally from the Nier Automata playbook is going to work for a lot of people.
Another game that also, certain times, you get to 1% health and all your clothes fall off. I'm like, all right. It reminds me of those Senran Kugura games. You guys ever play those?
No.
Oh, okay. That's like a game where like there's a button where you go into like super mode and it like rips all your character's clothes off, and then you enter like a melee thing and you're like, all right, I'm uncomfortable. Anyone else? Anyone else uncomfortable with this? With this high school age girls' clothes exploding? It's weird.
All right.
Stellar Blade has done a good job marketing itself to certain corners of the internet.
I think that's true.
But I don't think it's going to be as controversial
very
as
intentional,
anticipated.
by the way, Hogue. I think it's very intentional.
Yeah.
Well, I use the word marketing.
Yeah.
I connect with it because I also jiggle like that when I walk up and downstairs.
Dude, this guy's thick. This is what people don't understand. If we had a lower half body cam on the show, Dan would be the star of it.
Like really, I cut it off right here because it starts getting out of control.
Yeah, it would be distract the whole show. Nobody would hear a word we're saying. It would just
they don't anyway. Let's be honest.
Be the Dan show, bro.
True.
I bet you could throw it backwards in a circle, huh, Dan? Can you
for sure.
Travis is off the rails today. You see what going to Canada does to him?
Yeah. I just imagine Dan on his, doing a handstand against a wall twerking, and it gave me joy, and I think it will give joy to other people as well. So
as the only person here who's actually hung out with Dan, you need to stop.
Dan doesn't even need the wall.
Yeah, dude.
We're moving on. We are moving on.
Ty, those are our next AI picks, by the way. So let's get on that.
Boy.
We'll see that next.
No, don't. You're creating AI porn. Don't do it.
Don with another $10 super chat. Where's Seeds? I missed the start of the show. I hope you all had a nice week off for Easter. Driving to the girlfriend's today to celebrate my birthday. Happy birthday.
Nice. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, I got a surprise dinner for hers in 2 weeks.
Nice, Don. Happy birthday, my friend. And thank you. Yeah, I hope your Easter was good as well. Seeds, unfortunately, I mentioned at the start of the show, his mother passed early this morning. So got a text from him like very early this morning, obviously saying he wasn't going to make it. So he will be back at some point in time. For now, if you follow him on Twitter or anyone else's YouTube channel, just wish him the best. So thank you very much, Don. Shout out Midnight Drury with a season gamer membership. Thank you very much, Midnight Drury. Midnight Drury gives a membership on like every show we do, even on our cast co-op shows as well over here at the SG side. So thank you so much. Appreciate that. Tao
with $5. Thanks, Tao. What's up, Bitcasters? So can we finally stop calling Team Ninja games Souls-like when they are Gaiden-like? Have fun, guys. I'm fine with that.
Certainly Ronin is.
Yeah, for sure.
And I mean, these games go back a very, very long way. So yeah, it's almost, it feels almost at times, and you, as we all know, you don't find much bigger Souls and From fans than me, but it almost feels like a disservice calling Team Ninja games Souls likes.
They've leaned into it in some cases.
Like, they have. I think
the
industry have.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, I previewed Wo Long, and they were calling their game a Souls-like, and that was clearly their inspiration. So.
And I do think Ronin is much better than Wo Long. I do.
I was going to say, I couldn't really get into Wo Long. I was going to ask you.
I think they're about the same to me.
That's okay.
Yeah.
You're allowed to be wrong.
So are you. As you demonstrated so many times on the show.
I know I'm allowed. I've just never used it.
Yeah, sure. We'll take a survey on that. Where do we stand on Resident Evil?
Has Hogue ever been wrong?
Yeah. Where do we stand on Has Hogue?
This is the fastest moving survey we've ever seen here on the chat.
Yeah, wow, it's 100% in agreement.
Megatron and Starscream trying to get Hogue, call the Optimist, no doubt. Yeah, it did definitely come through like a bad sound wave at one point. Starscream.
Sorry about that.
You're all good. Tal, thank you, man. Good to see you. And Eric, Mr. Game Positive.
Eric, Game Positive. $6.99 Canadian. When is Ains going to finally stand up for democracy and do his part in protecting Super Earth from the disgusting Terminid and automaton scum?
This is a great super chat and a great question, because Ains looks like a character from Helldivers 2, and the fact that he has not played it is pretty horrifying. You look like you'd fit right in with that group of boys.
Don't they all have like suits and helmets on? Do you see them normally? I haven't played it.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, they do, but in the cutscenes, they've got like the very soldiery.
Oh,
you know, yeah.
I like that you said cutscenes. Like there are more than one of them.
Yeah, I mean that's true. There is only one. But you know, he looks like the character after he gets his head shaved. Of my cutscene. You know what I'm talking about?
I told you when Mass Effect came out in 2007, the original, and I was skinnier and had a tiny bit of hair on the top. My whole family called me Shepherd.
Nice.
Like I looked just like him.
And did you respond Rex?
Rex.
Shepherd. Rex.
Shepherd. He just walked in every room and said it was his favorite on the Citadel.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is my favorite here.
Well, that was the sequel.
Eric,
the superior.
I don't know. I'll play Helldivers at some point. There's no big rush for me.
You should. You should. That game is actually good. I will say.
No, I've heard it's great.
I am shocked by, because when I previewed that game, my big concern was I don't know if they're going to do the live service thing well, and they have taken a really unconventional approach to live service. And again, they are content light, I think, but I think I underestimated the replayability and the thing that they're doing with their GM model, which I think is super unique and interesting.
And they've done a good job selling Jeff.
Yeah, and they've done a really good job with like the memeability and kind of the online intrigue with what they're doing and the plotting, and they've leaned so hard into the setting that I really hope it continues to do well, because to me it's kind of like a different avenue for successful live service game that isn't 100% focused on seasons and delivering content like crazy. So I hope it continues to do really well, but it's one of those games that I played mostly before it was out, and I see all my friends playing it now, and I wish I could hop back in because it looks like a ton of fun.
Yeah, very fair.
People doing difficulty 9s and stuff, which I played that in demo and it was like brutal, but it seems like people are really getting the hang of it now, so it's cool.
Nice. Eric, thank you. And finally, from Rayman.
With a member comment, can I plug for the nonprofit Makers Making Change? They engineer accessible living aids like game controllers that can be 3D printed for free.
That's awesome.
No, you cannot.
No, you cannot.
Nope.
You cannot do it. Nope.
No way.
Yeah,
not here.
That's very cool. We actually got my son a very nice 3D printer for Christmas, and he's been just making all kinds of stuff. But I love seeing stuff like this. This is really neat. So that's very
Protect the seeds in the chat.
I see. With a ridiculously generous super chat. Got this one, Dan. Detective Seeds, $50 super chat. Wanted to swing through to show some love. Sorry I couldn't make it today under the circumstances. Much love, guys. Siege, you did not have to do that, my friend.
Yeah, man.
We have
He actually did have to do that. $49.99 is the no-show fee that Ains charges anytime we don't make it
the
to
cancellation fee without
fee.
Yeah,
it's very even Hogue couldn't get out of that contract. It's built in.
Yeah, it's
pretty
148 days advance notice. Otherwise,
right.
Seeds, no, we have called you out twice so far. If you, I don't know if you've been listening. Obviously, I don't know what's going on, but yeah, much love to you, dude, and the family, and what's obviously you're going to be going through the next week plus. So, all the best, and we'll talk soon. Thank you very much. Wow, I keep trying to move on, and these guys just keep coming. Rayman, gifting 10 Hogue Law memberships. Very generous, Rayman. Thank you very much.
That is very nice.
All right. Generous people out there today. By the way, we are, I think I mentioned last time, or maybe I mentioned on cast that, with Bitcast kind of being Easter and off and on, and us not being here, and me obviously dealing with my stuff, the SG YouTube channel took a hit in the algorithm. So sharing this out really would help us. We're already over 250 people hanging out with us here right now. So if you could share this out, give it a like on both sides of the house, the usual stuff we ask for, it would really, really help.
I think it'll be more stable now, right?
I think so. Try to get back ahead of that curve.
Well, and I do think that to some extent you're apologizing or explaining for things that are beyond your control. I can tell you that everyone I know in the YouTube space has had an algorithm hit in Q1 here. It's just been a weird time on YouTube.
It has
so
been.
Definitely share it around. Help us out. Absolutely. We think we're having good conversations here, but it's not your fault. It's not Travis's fault. It's not Dan's fault. It's not my fault. I think it's okay to have a week off every once in a while. And YouTube should be better at that than it is.
Also true. Yep. All right. We got caught up on comments. Thank you so much for everybody for the generosity so
Absolutely.
far.
Talking about games.
Yeah, still talking about games. So I want to just mention one to get your guys' thoughts, because you talked about this game several months ago, and one of our Discord members commented on Palia, which was
I can talk about.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't that like the cozy MMO type thing?
It is. It's a cozy MMO made by an indie developer, Singularity 6. They are. I covered them extensively during their closed and then open beta launch, and they announced this week that I don't know if they announced it, but it came out that they laid off about a third of their staff, which is crazy. And a ton of people. It's also crazy because that game is actually not out yet. It's still technically in its beta. I mean, you can play it on pretty much every platform, but like they just enjoyed their Steam launch. I think they put out a press release recently that they had over 1 million players. And so there are all these kind of like promising things, but again, it is a free to play game that is relying purely on cosmetic microtransactions for like your character clothes and stuff like that. So super sad to hear about that, especially since I know some of the people who got laid off because I was involved with reporting on that studio. I was like the guy delivering all the news on that studio and stuff. So I just had like a lot of contacts there. So yeah, a bummer of a story and really unexpected because it wasn't one of those like corporate, we're forcing you to get lean or whatever. It seems like this maybe actually needed to happen. And it also happened to some people who were pretty high up. So yeah, real bummer.
They're the ones that, they impact the bottom line more usually. So yeah. Damn, that's a shame to hear. Yeah, I hadn't really heard about that game because it's not my type of game, but I hadn't heard about it since we talked about it a few months back. And then someone on Discord brought it up and I was like, oh, that's the same thing. That's sad to hear.
Yeah. So. I can tell you it has a really dedicated community. I know this because my fiance still plays it regularly. It's one of those games where like if you find a resource out in the world that's valuable, rather than one person just like harvesting it, they get into the chat and they say, hey, super good resource on me. And then they wait like 5 minutes for people to show up and they chop it down together so everybody can get the resources. It's like one of those games like, damn, like everybody here is so considerate and nice, because if it was just me, I'd be like, I'm not waiting 5 minutes. I'm chopping this thing down and moving on.
Yeah.
They have like a really good community around it. And I can tell you my fiance was pretty devastated by this news. She was like, no, when I sent it to her. So I think there are a pretty big a group of people who play this game and are really enjoying it. I think this honestly just might be their monetization model was not great, because I don't know why you would spend money, because really the only thing is your cosmetic clothes. You can get everything else in the game, all of the items that you can acquire, everything. So I think their monetization model may have been a little too kind to the player. Yeah.
Sorry, Rick, not Pal World. Maybe I said it weird. Palia. Palia, not Pal World. Yeah.
Also known as Palia. Also known as
I think I tend to want to call it Palia.
Yeah, I want to call it Palia too. According to the developers, it has no correct pronunciation. They designed the name Palia to be interpreted however you want, and they're all correct according to the developer. So
it's really good, but it's certainly the case that when you're making a free-to-play game, that's essentially step one: make a good game. And then step two is getting the math right, figuring out exactly what you're going to monetize, and especially if you're in the cozy sphere and you want to be seen as the friend of the player, figuring out exactly how friendly you need to be while still keeping the lights on and the people fed is a real trick. And that's really, really hard. So I'm not surprised that that's happened to essentially a first run at something like this, because Palia is huge. Like it's way bigger than I thought it was when Travis first told me about it. And so I think it's a shame, but it's not a surprise, because there's a lot of folks at these big companies that sometimes get a lot of flack for having economists and all the people working behind the scenes to figure these things out. But that is part of the equation when you're talking about monetizing a free-to-play game.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So if you do care about cozy games at all, or Palia, you should go and buy like an outfit. I went and did it when I saw this news. Spent like $10-15. Throw some money their way. I want to support this game because it's unique and interesting, and I would love it to at least make it to its 1.0, because I mean it's not even out yet. So
yeah.
Now, Travis, I don't want to lawyer you so early in the week, but you are the one that stands on principle for early access is out because they're taking money.
Correct.
Right? So if you're selling cosmetics, aren't you out in some real way?
I think you're out. Yeah. I mean, I would like it to reach its 1.0. I guess that's maybe a better way to say it, but
sure.
It feels like it's this is like a really bad sign, and I'm not saying the studio is going under or anything, but it obviously feels like a not great sign for where it's at in its life cycle, especially as an MMO, one that's supposed to have like a long tail and last for years. It feels like I don't want to see it go down. I don't see something really bad happen at this point, especially since you pointed out like there's a lot in it, and I think it has more players than we
everyone
thought.
I've showed it to has really connected with it. Like, it is a very positive experience for them. I think people are going to like it. But in terms of keeping those lights on, just getting your foot in the door of a free-to-play game doesn't do that. So it becomes a second step.
Yeah, to your point, I think they did get the math wrong, just based on, and when they showed it originally in the closed beta, when they explained their monetization model, my response was so positive. I was like, wow, that's crazy that you're, giving everything except for the clothes. Like, you can just customize anything. Nothing is money gated. And I think that probably worked against them in this case.
Well, and the next friction point will be that they'll probably have to take some stuff away and charge for some stuff that they didn't originally. And then the early access people are that's tough to keep that.
Yeah.
It's hard to go backwards.
Or just charge for the game when it hits 1.0. They did that with was it Disney Dreamlight Valley? I think they did that with
and they took a lot of flack for that, though. It was supposed to be a free-to-play game, and then they essentially said, no, it's not going to be a free-to-play game anymore.
Yep. Yeah. Maybe there's a reason for that, because I also don't really understand how Disney Dreamlight makes any money if they don't charge for that. They have like a season pass model.
They have a battle pass. They do.
Yeah, it didn't strike me as like especially essential or anything. So I don't know. It's interesting. I hope they figure it out. I hope this is just a bump in the road, because I do think their game's good, and I'd like to review.
Palia is really good. Check it out.
Yeah.
There you go. Fair enough. Before we move on to major topics, because we've got to talk about Eternal Strands, obviously, Travis. We need to talk about Hellblade 2. We got to talk about a couple other things. But before we do that, any other games you guys would like to shout out that you've been playing or checking out?
Yes, I want to talk about the continuing epic adventures of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. First of all, just say no to Chapter 11, folks. Chapter 11 is garbage.
Bankruptcy.
I love Final Fantasy, but Chapter 11 is garbage. But outside of that, I continue to just have a really strange relationship with this game. I'm playing it with my daughter. We really adored Remake, and nothing happens in this game. It's all character stories. It's all background. I've played it for 70 or 80 hours now, and you can summarize what I have done in maybe a couple of sentences. Now, that being said, it's got tremendous art and tremendous music and a really cool battle system that unfortunately just doesn't decide to tell a story because they've made a 100-hour video game out of this really small chunk of the original RPG. And this goes to that kind of bloat goat conversation we have so often, which is that just raw time is not actually an asset for a game or any other piece of media. You have to be having fun. You have to be engaged in what you're doing. And I understand that as a not so mature industry, and certainly an industry that is invested in by younger people very often, that kind of hours per dollar calculation became one of the metrics for video games. But there are so many things in Rebirth that happen that don't make sense, that aren't really very fun, that just elongate sections and sequences in this game, that I really wish that they had whatever the equivalent of an editor would be when you read a novel that's over long for their video game, because
some dev studios do have like an editor job. Yeah.
Well, and I know that in video gaming, you'd have to probably have that role be earlier, right? You'd want to do that before they make all the assets.
For what it's worth, I don't think that position exists at any Japanese studio.
Well, it's fair.
Just based on the scripts I've seen.
Right. And this isn't just scripts, right? This is whole sequences where you say, yes, I could get that point across in a 4-room dungeon. Instead, it's 4 levels, and each level has 10 rooms. I mean, it's that kind of thing in Rebirth. And I wish I liked it more, because I love Final Fantasy. I love Final Fantasy VII. And in the most surprising turn for me in the last 2 years, I am replaying Final Fantasy 16 at the same time, and I'm enjoying the experience in 16 vastly more than Rebirth. Like, there are sequences that I've played in Rebirth that I was actively not having fun. Like, I'm making fun of the game with my daughter when it's doing something ridiculous, and I'm just not enjoying the experience. And I know I would have dropped off this thing if I weren't having the family fun time with Rebirth, and that makes me sad. But
put it on the box quote, I was actively not having fun, Richard Hogue.
Well, I wish I were having more fun with it, because I'm going to get to the end of this and be like, there's many good sequences. There's a lot of good things in there. But if you put 10 good things in 100 hours, it's not going to outweigh all the bad times I had.
Yeah.
Sounds like you don't like Rebirth. I still have not gotten... I did a completionist run of Grasslands. Is that what it's called? The opening area?
The first area.
Yeah. And then I have not played it since. So got to get back to it eventually.
It's just funny to me, right? Because it's like you can make open world games like this. I think Infinite Wealth does it better. I think Xenoblade Chronicles does it better. And this is the first Final Fantasy that does it. I actually think it gets whatever the opposite of a Final Fantasy tax would be in terms of reviews. Like, it gets a little bit more credit because it is so anime and arch and a little bit unexpected for this kind of game to be so open world. And I just don't think it works. I just do not think it works for having a game with momentum. And I know people are connecting with it in certain respects, and I'm glad for them. I don't complain about anybody, including Seasoned Gaming's 9.5 that I know Alex wrote, because I can see how you get there if it's connecting with you in some way that it's not with me, because there's so much stuff in there and so much is really good art, whether it's graphics or music or voice acting or otherwise. Like, it's really high end, but all in the name of nothing.
Yeah, it does give me, even based on the small section I played, it gives me like stretching the Hobbit book into 3 movies vibe. You know,
it very much feels like the Hobbit.
Just too much. Shouldn't have done it. Maybe a duology. People really want to make their trilogies. They really do. I don't know what it is about 3. They really want that trilogy.
Well, and my position was always that I thought they did a good job fleshing out Remake. And if you're going to do that for this particular part of Final Fantasy VII, you could, but you have to write more stuff. You have to add stuff into what was just a 10-hour sequence in the original game where you walked among towns and then you got the game plot started, right? That you have to figure that out, that's the big thing that you have to solve when you're whiteboarding this thing in some boardroom somewhere. And it's just like they said, nah, we don't identify that as a problem. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and based on your description, I'm with you. I would probably feel very similarly. The crazy thing, as you know, is from a celebratory standpoint, this game is very heavily celebrated.
Game of the year contender, Hogue.
Yeah.
Get ready. Get ready.
I get that because one of the main criteria for Game of the Year is big and expensive, right? And Rebirth is big and expensive. But when it comes down to it, the plot doesn't do anything. It doesn't have any motivation for most of the time that you're playing it. And then the encounter design really leans on what I don't like about role-playing games, which is what I call trick bosses, which is you build your party to do certain things, and then this boss is going to immediately counter X, Y, and Z, or it's going to only be hit by magic and then only be hit by physical or whatever it's doing. It's designed to get you to do weird stuff with your party, and it inevitably takes you to go and die and then restart and then reform all of your strategies with your party and then try again in this kind of puzzle framework that just doesn't match overall what I like out of an RPG, which is that kind of strength growth curve and more of a, I guess, Dragon Quest style. But that's one reason why Infinite Wealth works so much better for me than Rebirth, which is
based off
everything
Quest.
Everything kind of funnels into the power curve in that game in a way that's a lot smarter done than Rebirth, in my opinion. Right? Everything I say on this or on Twitter is in my opinion, but
pretty much everything is in your opinion. You don't have to say it.
That's what doesn't work for me out of this game, and I wish it did because there's a lot of art there.
Oh man.
Fair.
In my opinion.
The way you described it in terms of just things that don't work and feel bloated and feel tacked on and slow the game down is like bloat goat is Ragnarok for me. I still think about God of War Ragnarok and get frustrated with how that game just annoyed me.
Still?
Yeah.
Who hurt you?
You have those
Ragnarok did.
Like, what am I doing?
You still think of it?
Sitting here. I'm like, yeah, I bought this game, and I haven't played it yet. And
this does not sound like a damn game.
I love the first one. I like remake. So
remake is excellent.
Yeah,
but
I was like, all right, let's keep going. And then now I'm regretting everything. So it sucks.
It's funny because Neo, who our good friend Neo, who's been on the show, of course, he was having some rants about Rebirth the other day on Twitter, and I said, "You sound like Hogue." And then I think he got to chapter 11, which is what you were saying is really horrible, Hogue. And he's like, "What is this? This is terrible." I was like, "You and Hogue need to have a rant session about this game."
Do you like throwing boxes at other boxes with the worst interface ever invented? We've got you covered.
All right, Hogue, would you rather replay chapter 11 10 times back to back with no breaks?
No.
Or file for chapter 11 bankruptcy?
Well, I bill for those filings.
You're filing it for you, though.
It's my personal bankruptcy.
Yes.
Well, in general, that's easing up your debt burden. So I think probably file for bankruptcy.
God damn it. Can't even get him with that question. All right.
I just got to tell you, chapter 11, it made me actively rethink whether I loved Final Fantasy as a series.
Nice.
Oh, man.
I'm glad I will probably never make it past the grasslands. To me, that's the whole game. That's the whole game.
Honestly, I think it would have been better for it.
Noise.
Man.
Speaking of trilogies, a trilogy that doesn't waste your time?
Go.
No.
Apollo Justice, Ace Attorney. There we go, guys. I have been replaying the Ace Attorney series, and the remake that just came out of those 3 games is phenomenal. It's reminded me how much I love these damn games. I just finished Spirit of Justice yesterday, and I'm doing the DLC case. And man, Ace Attorney is damn good, and they need to make a new one. That's where I stand on that one. So I've been playing.
They are making a new one, aren't they?
No, they haven't announced anything.
They haven't announced it.
There's good reason to believe all these re-releases suggest that they might do one in the background.
So there's a ton of evidence. One is that Ace Attorney games have never sold well, and then they released the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney trilogy a couple years ago, and it sold over 2 million copies. Before that release, no Ace Attorney game had broken 1 million copies. And so that is a very good sign. The Apollo Justice trilogy seems to have sold well. They localized both of the great Ace Attorney Chronicles games into English, which nobody thought they were going to do because they sold so terribly in Japan. And a couple years ago, Capcom had its roadmap leaked, and there was an Ace Attorney 7 game on their roadmap. However, it was slated for release, I think, in 2021, which obviously never happened. And so that either got delayed or they decided to do the remakes first or whatever. But we think it's happening. But if you have not played the Ace Attorney trilogies, the saga, you should play it. Damn, do yourself a favor. Best story ever told in games, in my opinion.
Whoa.
According to Hogue. I gotta say, in my opinion, every time.
No. By the way, no.
Best story told in games. Name one better.
I love Ace Attorney, and they do really good plot twists.
Have you played them all?
But no.
Have you played them all?
I have not played them all. I'm still in the poker game in the Apollo Justice trilogy.
Oh my god, bro! You haven't even. Okay. Yeah.
Have I mentioned the huge amount of time I've spent in Rebirth?
Why would you?
He's
do
moving
that
boxes, Travis. He's moving boxes.
I am moving boxes. Then
you're too busy replaying Chapter 11 10 times and filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy.
No, but I tell you what, I am too busy doing: fighting poison pirates in Skull and Bones.
Oh, we do need to talk about Skull and Bones.
Do we?
Oh,
yeah. Do we really?
We're the only podcast doing it, Ains.
I agree with Alex Guys twice, by the way. Miles Edgeworth Investigations. I played both of them. One of them isn't even localized into English, so you have to play a fan translation on PC, but I did it. Those games are fantastic. You can play Miles Edgeworth Investigations on your phone in English, but you cannot play the sequel because they did not localize it. I agree. Both of those games need to be localized because they're phenomenal.
Guy is too edgy.
He is edgy.
But it's
worth it.
I need to ask Volkus, and Volkus, I was just going to type, but we're going to call this out. Horizon Zero Dawn would like a word, Travis.
Oh, Jesus. You do not think that's the best story in gaming?
That's what I'm confused. I can't tell if you're being sarcastic or...
That sounds sarcastic because there's no way. No way. That's a crazy choice. I will talk about Skull and Bones, or is that what it's called? Skull and Bones? Yeah.
It is. I want to call it Sea of Thieves all the time, so good job, Rare.
Skull and Bones. I reached the end of season 1 season pass a while ago. I also reached a point where I had so much money and pieces of 8 that I didn't even know what to do with it because I own every item in the game. And then I put the game down, and all of my friends abandoned it long before that, so I have no one to play it with. So I'm probably at the end, unless season 2 really brings me something fresh and pulls me in. I'm really at the end of my playtime with Skull and Bones. But I will say I stuck in it. And the reason I did is because I reviewed the game and I wanted to be the guy who could talk about it in an informed way. So I said, I'm going to get through the whole first season. And I did that. So if they ever need me to cover it a year from now, if it gets an expansion, I doubt it'll live that long. But if it ever did, I would be well equipped.
I'm heartened by my ranking. I'm heartened by my smuggler ranking in the 70,000s. So it's not nothing. Got some players.
And also the rankings are based by platform. So I play on Xbox and PC, and so I see myself in 2 separate leaderboards. And so there are players, but according to Ubisoft, it sold fewer than 1 million players, which is really bad for a Ubisoft game. So yeah,
it's fair. Like I said, don't follow me into any live service game, folks. But I really love Skull and Bones. I finally got my smuggling empire up and running. I took on my first fort with a friend the other day.
Nice.
So
did you fight a ghost ship?
I tried to fight a ghost ship. I died.
How'd that go? Did the whole screen turn red? And did you fight the one that duplicates itself? Does the whole
it warps around, but is that duplicating?
No, there's a harder version of it that not only warps but also creates clones of itself, and it's pretty challenging. That one's pretty cool. Game is better than a lot of people think, but I do still stand by my 7 out of 10, even having played it like quite a bit now and gotten through an entire season. It has a lot of room to grow, and I think more importantly, it really has not struck a chord or found an audience with the game community, and I think it's probably just one of those games that's destined to go the way of the dodo, unfortunately.
That is why I'm playing it so much now.
Noise. Yeah, I will be happy to say like, hey, I actually played that game before it was gone. That's kind of a nice deal to say.
I think that's how I'm feeling about Suicide Squad. Still enjoying it.
Squad.
Unlock
So I was
Joker.
all up for the season 1, Ains, because you actually texted us and said it's Suicide Squad Day. So what happened?
What do you mean? Well, I don't know what you mean. What happened?
Well, I jumped into
You think it's
season
gonna
1
die?
and there's nothing there.
I mean, there's not. I don't.
For
I don't
people
know
who
what to do
haven't
with
beaten
that.
the campaign, there's nothing there.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with that comment. Like season, it's a continuation of the game. So yeah,
Do you guys remember? You guys discovered the discrepancy though, is that he hasn't beaten the campaign and you have.
Yeah.
For him, there was nothing to do. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole kind of world opens up. All the end game stuff opens up once you beat the game. Hogue. It's a looter shooter. I mean, it's like Diablo. It's like saying, you're going to go in and do end game stuff.
Now wait a minute, Diablo. 2. Every season, I get a little crappy story, and it makes me happy.
Diablo, you actually don't need to beat the campaign to enjoy the seasons. That is true.
No, but I mean, like looter shooters in general, you're gonna beat the core game before you start doing the continuation stuff.
You guys are both right. You're just two different players.
That's
really all it is. Yeah.
So on Suicide Squad, yeah, I mean, it still has gaps, of course, right? Like it needs some larger PvE activities. There is not any big story continuation in season 1. Absolutely not. There's still plenty of gaps like that, but there's a lot of new loot and builds. Joker is awesome. And you can unlock him for free, which I think is cool. You do have to play to level 35 in the season leveling thing, which is free. It's not the battle pass. You can do it all for free. But his the effort put into him is really cool. You get this kind of cool cutscene when you do unlock him and he gets back to the base and with the characters and stuff. So enjoying it. It's not revolutionary by any stretch of the imagination, but it's just more content in a game I find fun. Which is pretty much it.
I wish it did more for me. I thought it would have a little bit more story with the multiple dimensions and things. And I thought that the way they had presented it, like the way that they had done their dev documentaries and their videos showing what the plan was, suggested more of that narrative advancement than apparently is in there.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be an interesting conversation to have, and we'll see how long the game lasts and how they follow through with the seasons, because there's a lot of stuff that's been kind of leaked about it. It's going to be an interesting conversation when it comes to its endpoint to reflect on that, because I think they made some poor choices with the way they position this game. But that's a whole nother topic. I don't feel like diving into at the moment.
Sure. I still have not played this game, so I really hope that the game is around at the end of the year when I do my catch up.
Well, I mean, they already have 4 seasons planned out. I think they'll follow through on those. There's some other stuff that's kind of been data mined, that's in there. So
did they sell a year pass? I mean, have they committed to 4 seasons? I think they did, right?
I don't know off the top of my head.
I know there was a $110 version, so I hope that included a year of seasons.
Yeah.
Well, you see the problem, right? Is if your game doesn't take off and you sell those early, you get this issue.
That's happened before. Yeah. They've had to do like refunds and stuff.
Someone reminded me, or I think it was Miles posted the other day, that there's a character pass for Redfall. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Supposed to be adding new main playable characters to Redfall.
But that game's like a year old. They aren't added yet?
Nope.
Alex reports only the first season is included in the $100 version, which is horrifying.
It's not just the first season. No, you get a credit to use it on any season. You don't have to use it.
Oh, interesting.
That's right. Yeah, you got that. That's what I wound up using, right? So I had like a pass.
Yeah, and they kind of broke it out like they do in some other games now, where there's a battle pass, right, where it's got free and paid tracks, right? And you actually earn more credits in the battle pass back than it costs, which is nice.
That's the model I like.
But it also has this season leveling, which unlocks other stuff, and all that's free and built into the season. So like I said, there's some good stuff in there from a live service perspective. I think it's pretty good. But yeah, I mean, we talked about this on SG. It's like the people who are expecting this to be a narrative, story-driven comic game, that's just not what it is. And I think part of that is Rocksteady. Yeah, I think part of that is Rocksteady's fault in the way they position it. What Hogue was saying is that I think they tried to play into this was going to have a lot of that, and It just doesn't.
Well, and the game does, right? I mean, like the game has a surprising amount of narrative cutscenes and things
The
like
core
that. So I
game
just
does.
I assume that a season is going to continue a smaller version of that, and it doesn't, as far as I can tell.
No, other than the cutscene for the Joker, which again is really well done, but other than that, no, it does not. So,
very funny explanation for how the Joker is in the game, by the way.
Oh,
yeah, it is, yeah. All right. So
I got other games I could talk about. I got some catching up actually, because I haven't been here for how many weeks?
A while.
I don't even know.
I only missed one show, but because we were off last week.
Yeah, because we were off. Yeah.
Yeah. South Park Snow Day is a bad game. You shouldn't play it. Outpost Infinity Siege is really cool and janky, kind of a mutt game. You should play it if you've got some extra time and you have a good gaming PC because it has high PC requirements. I also did a preview of Dune Awakening, the MMO survival game. If you're into Dune, that game looks really, really cool. Probably the coolest thing I saw at GDC. This has been an update from Travis.
All right, but I love Dune and I don't much care for survival games.
I think you should give it a try. This game looks really dang cool.
All right.
So just to elaborate a little bit, like this game has a ton of RPG stuff in it. Like when you're making your character, you do things like select your home world, and then your home world determines like your base look. Because if you're from, the Harkonnen home planet, which is like poisonous atmosphere, it like turns your skin pale and makes your hair come off. And so it kind of gives you like a base look, and then you customize that further. And it's got character classes and skill trees. Oh, I want a little bit of Bene Gesserit, throw that on there so I can do some mind manipulation stuff.
Is it Arrakis only in terms of the play area?
It is Arrakis only as the play area, but it has different zones. It's not just one map. And so there is an area that's protected, just like in the books, by the canyons that protects you from the worst of the sandstorms. And this is sort of like a PvE build your bases, and your bases will stick around area that can have like hundreds of players in it. And then you can go into the deep desert, which is chaotic, and once a week a sandstorm comes in and destroys everything there. So if you build bases there, it's not going to be permanent, and it's got PvP stuff in it, and it's damn cool. So
all right, doesn't sound like me at all, but I love Dune.
I do want to recommend Dune Awakening. Probably the coolest thing I saw at GDC.
Is that, when does it come out?
They have not announced. So people have been making fun of me because in my YouTube video I say that it's coming to early access later this year or something like that. And the person who told me that was an employee working on the game, but they had to later update us and say that person spoke in error, or that maybe isn't happening. So apparently I wasn't supposed to report that in my preview, but somebody did say it to me. So I don't know if it's actually going to early access this year, but I officially on the record, nobody said that to me.
Okay. All right. Glad.
So,
all right.
I did issue a correction, even though I was like, I wrote it down. They definitely said it. It's in my notes, but whatever.
Just to expound upon Snow Day real quick for South Park, because I saw the widest mix of opinions on this game.
I did too, and that was shocking to me because that game's really bad. Like it is like it is very bad. So I played it with 3 huge South Park fans and myself, who is also a lifelong South Park fan. We love grungy humor. We love Stick of Truth. We even really liked the Fractured Butthole. This game is not that. The writing is awful. It's 100% toothless. It has no jokes or even the stuff you would expect it to have, the weird gross out moments and the over the top stuff. None of that. It is literally just a game where 4 kids have a snowball fight. The combat is really bad. It's got 5 levels. You can get through it in 4 hours. Terrible game. Do not play it. Alex played it with me. It sucked. The 3 people I played it with, who are all South Park fans, none of us enjoyed it. We left heartbroken playing that game. We were like, this was awful. I cannot believe they put out this game. So yeah, don't play it. I'm sorry, guys. Anybody who has a high score on the game, I want to shake them and ask them like what they're, because even the reviews I read, I was like, that's just not true. I don't. How did you come away from that? Like a lot of funny moments. No, it doesn't have any of those. It's very bad. So don't play this game.
Now, Travis, the last time we had a conversation like that was with the one with the knife that talks to you, and I said all this humor sucks, and you said it was great. So, couldn't it just be a difference in humor? for a game like that?
I really don't think so, because it High on Life, you could say I don't like the jokes, but you could say you can't say it doesn't have jokes.
Oh no,
South Park doesn't have those. It does, like it actually doesn't. Like, it is a game where the premise is it's a snow day, let's have a snowball fight, and then there's basically there's no dialogue or story changes really in there at all. There's like 1 or 2 small cutscenes. And so the stuff that you would expect, like from a South Park game, of like Cartman being the worst person possible, or like, in the Stick of Truth, we spelunked inside Mr. Slave, we became a gnome and had to dodge our parents' genitalia. There's all these like crazy moments that you remember from Stick of Truth that, even if you don't think they're funny, they're very South Park, and they're big gross out moments.
Yeah, and I'm not saying this is the way it should be reviewed, but couldn't it be someone that maybe doesn't love that South Park feeling, saying these are chiller?
If that was what the review said, of like, hey, I don't like South Park humor, and so the fact that that's not in here is great, but that's not what they're saying. The positive reviews say like, oh, typical South Park, great jokes, and I'm like, where? Like, did we play different games? It's crazy to me. So
okay,
I really cannot not recommend this game enough. You should not play it. It's a waste of your time and money. Yeah,
fair enough.
You heard it here, folks. I was not planning on getting it.
Yeah, I mean, look, and I'd be the first guy to lean on the side of positive for comedy games. People know that is my tilt. If a game has comedy in it, I really give it the benefit of the doubt whenever I can.
You do advocate for more comedy.
I like comedy games. There need to be more funny games, but South Park Snow Day is not one of them. It's not a funny game, and it's not good. It's also just not good to play. Like, it's got really floaty, inaccurate combat that gets repetitive in like 10 minutes. So
I think the game that has most worked for me, actually, Travis, that you recommended, that has made me actually laugh out loud, is the Monster Prom series.
Great game.
Great
writing.
Just has tremendous writing.
Dating sims have really good writing. I think that's one of the things people don't give them credit for.
Presumably because it's the only
Dan
game
says that all the
have.
time.
Yeah,
it's true.
But yeah, Monster Prom, whatever the second one is, camping, Road Trip, I think is the third one. Really good writing. Probably not appropriate for your youngsters, but really good writing.
It's funny. It will make you laugh for sure. Yeah,
it does. Yes.
Fair enough. All right, let's talk about your world exclusive here, Travis. Not the one that Hogue was teasing 2 weeks ago, but the one on Eternal.
So we got that out of the way.
The one on Eternal Strands, which you got to travel to Canada to Yellow Brick Games. Their first big game. We've seen video of it now.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's obviously industry vets, various degrees in the studio. But we saw some gameplay from it. We saw a boss battle now, and it's going to be IGN's first for all of April. So talk to us about this game.
Yes, so I can tell you a little bit about it because only 2 articles are out, but as the month goes on, I'll be able to tell you more and more about it. I saw a tremendous amount of this game. They gave me complete unfettered access to their entire team while I was there. I got to interview like 10 or 11 different people on their team. I got to, walk around their studio. I got to play the game as much as I wanted. So I have a lot to say about this game, but we'll start with the stuff you need to know most importantly about the studio. It is an indie studio. They've got maybe 70 or 80 people from what I can tell. And they are 100% comprised of vets from the industry who worked on AAA games. Like, that's their entire team, right? And so they've got some people from BioWare. They've got some people from EA. They've got a ton of people from Ubisoft. Their studio is located in Quebec City, Canada. So if you know anything about the Canadian games industry, that shouldn't be surprising to you that a lot of them came from Ubisoft. They also have some really interesting people working on their art team, including the artist who originally designed the face for Asterion for Baldur's Gate 3. So if you like...
cool.
Yeah, if you like Asterian's,
it reminded me.
Beautiful.
Not to interrupt you, sorry, Travis.
Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of Immortals.
It does have a look like.
I saw some people saying that. I don't know that I agree. I think the art style is distinct enough, and it has very little in common from a gameplay perspective.
Okay.
From Immortals, but I get the look of I get why people are saying that at first glance, but that didn't.
Yeah.
Having played the game almost immediately after seeing it. That comparison didn't enter my mind at all.
Okay.
And I played all of Immortals, by the way.
I have to put this in professional terms. It's very colorful and sparkly.
It is colorful and sparkly. So some people have commented on the art style being kind of, it is a little trendy right now for games to look that way. And that was one of the things I told them when I was there, is they were like, hey, we want to talk about our art style a lot. And I said, I love your art style, but I think a lot of games try to look like this today. So let's talk about the gameplay. And I think the gameplay is the thing that interests me the most. They also do some really interesting, like if you guys played Hades, they're a big fan of Supergiant games, and so they have like a social element to their game where you're meeting and advancing kind of invisible social links with your companions, and it does that. The animation. What do you call it? The portraits that pop up with the text underneath. That's kind of got like a little bit of a visual novel kind of aspect to it, which we haven't really shown a lot of that yet, or any of it at IGN First, but you can see a screenshot that a lot of people caught on their Steam wishlist posting, their Steam page. So there's that to talk about, but to give a summary of the game itself, it is an action adventure. It is not an RPG, despite being from a lot of people who worked on RPGs. So if you were expecting Mike Laidlaw to get back up to his old tricks from his BioWare days, he is in certain ways, but it is not that type of game where you have a party and you're running around completing quests,
throwing boxes.
Sorry.
Yeah, let's just say it's not the same type of tough decisions based RPG. You do make some decisions, which we'll talk about in future weeks, but not the same standard of like an open world RPG or whatever. But the game is an action adventure where primarily you're running around fighting things. It's very combat heavy. You are specifically fighting a lot of large bosses that roam the world. There are 9 of them throughout the world, and they kind of spawn in different regions and then roam, and then you can choose to engage with them or not. And so then Colossuses, correct, but it has more of, I would say it's kind of Shadow Colossus meets Mega Man, because like Mega Man, there's 9 bosses, and every time you kill one, you get a power from them. So it has a very like direct kind of line to the Mega Man series.
Sure.
And the build I was playing on, primarily, I had been given all of the powers right at the outset, but at the beginning, on a normal playthrough, you have very low power, and you're kind of making do with what you have, and then over time you gain abilities that let you manipulate the environment in a bunch of different ways. First, there's the thermodynamic layer, which allows you to do things like cast fire, and things get hotter and things catch on fire when you cast fire. And then you can do ice, which does the opposite effect. And because it uses Unreal 5, it actually has some unique tech where you casting fire actually changes the temperature of the environment around you. And it allows like the world to be affected by that. And so you casting fire makes boxes of air, invisible boxes of air that are in the environment, kind of contribute to the overall heat of the area. And then different things happen where you can affect the world, or maybe, if you're casting a bunch of ice on a guy, his armor will eventually get so cold that it becomes brittle, and then you'll be able to cleave it off, which you normally wouldn't be able to do if it were hot or under normal conditions. And so has some really interesting stuff for that. And then you also have telekinetic powers, so you can throw boxes, as somebody pointed out, or in this case, you can basically like take off pieces of the environment and throw things at them. But we're going to have some other pieces this week, some interviews and stuff that go into the tech, and also go into the power engine that allows you to kind of use physics to manipulate the environment and combine powers to pull off interesting tricks and stuff. A lot of that stuff I can't really get into, but the content we have so far is basically the announcement, the reveal trailer that came alongside the announcement, and then a footage and interview of a boss fight. And I also wrote a written preview of that boss fight that you can only see if you go to the article version. So if you saw the YouTube video where it was kind of formatted like a dev diary, the written version is completely different. It's me talking about my time fighting this boss and some interesting things I noticed. So will it run at 60 FPS? They have not announced that. The game is over a year out, but it is an alpha state, and I was playing on a PC that was running it at 60 frames per second, but I don't know if that's their target or anything. And then it's a smaller game. It's like 25-30 hours was what they estimated. and an adventure game that's primarily based on combat and having fun with powers and doing stupid tricks and stuff like that. But it's very unique and interesting, and I'm excited to share more. And you can watch me fight a giant blacksmith with a big flaming hammer.
It looks really cool and different.
Cool. Yeah, it's very different, which is what I'm excited about. It's just not. It combines a lot of different things that I haven't seen in the same place. Shadow Colossus and like Hades, kind of social links, visual novel stuff, and then some very light RPG mechanics. I think they had originally described themselves as an RPG and then moved away that as the game developed. And then the way
it's fascinating that you credit Hades with that, because I tend to think of it as a Harvest Moon farming sim kind of game.
The reason I credit Hades is because that's specifically what the devs cited as their inspiration. Okay. So they're a big fan of Supergiant, and that's what they were like, yeah, we like that. And they also really like Monster Hunter, so they cite that as well, and you can kind of see the inspiration there. And so it's interesting. Yeah, Alex says feels like it'll give us what the terrible Pray for the Gods didn't. I sure hope so. My problem with Pray for the Gods was the unfortunate mixture of Shadow Colossus and survival mechanics, where like you have to worry about your cold and heat temperature and you're starving all the time.
That drives me nuts.
That was just a really weird combination of things that I think didn't jive. It was not a peanut butter and jelly situation.
Did you say 80 people for a company without any releases?
Yeah. Correct. Yeah, they're pretty big. And the reason they have so many people is because they had a publisher for this game. A publisher.
Did you get a notion of what the funding was?
Yeah, so they had some funding and a publisher in Private Division. However, for those who are industry insiders, you probably know Private Division's not doing great right now, and they had to let go of a lot of their projects, including this one. So they actually don't have a publisher. They're self-publishing. That was a surprise. I think they found that out like right before GDC. So they are self-publishing their game suddenly. So yeah.
Well, I hope it does well for them. It sounds like an interesting project. We have this conversation from time to time about wanting to see interesting ideas and new IPs.
Yeah.
And so, with something like this, I just hope it does well, because I keep getting flashbacks of Immortals of Avium, which new IP, big studio, big project, and
is real crushed. Good, folks. Give it a try.
It's good.
It's on PS Plus right now, so give it a shot. But I mean, they've already let go over 45% of their studio, which is just it's sad, disappointing to hear.
Yeah,
this is the these are the stories I love, right? These are the people betting their houses on these kinds of things.
Yeah, taking a risk.
Yeah, it's got some really cool people involved in the studio, and we're gonna have a story about the studio this week, which I think some will be pretty heartwarming to some of you, because they have a very interesting story for their studio. So we're gonna tell that this week, and yeah, I really hope this game succeeds. Right now, the feedback we're seeing from IGN First just on the first week is everybody who sees this game seems to really be impressed with it. We're just having trouble reaching people. And when you have the biggest media platform in the world, you still can't control what clicks with your audience and what people are clicking on. And in this case, I think the people who are clicking on it are really liking it, but we're just not. I don't think we're reaching like as many people as we want to. So please share these articles and get the conversation talked about them, because I just think we need to get as many eyeballs on this stuff as we can, because everybody who sees it is interested, but we're just sometimes it can be kind of depressing when you see the analytics on IGN and you realize that, a lot of times if it isn't a AAA Call of Duty, Elden Ring situation, people don't click on it nearly as much. And that is certainly true. So it's hard to make new IPs and indie games.
I'm actually not sure I would even want the information you have about the click tendencies of the gaming audience, Travis.
I don't think you would. I don't think you would, because it can be pretty depressing when you're like, oh yeah, like, we've got a ton of traffic and we've got this huge gaming community, and here are the things that they actually care about. And as it turns out, it is not new IPs and it is not indie games.
Well, you saw the study that came out, right? That 60% of gaming time is spent on games that are 7 years or older.
I did see
in the
that
industry right now.
It's very interesting. And I'm sure
I would just like to correct that headline and say that it's games that released 7 or more years ago. Saying a game is 7 or years older sounds really wrong for what we're talking about, are essentially
that's interesting.
Games.
In the live service world, yes, that's fair.
Right. Well, I mean, like if you go and turn on Fortnite right now, it's not the game that it was 7 years ago.
No, that's what I said. Yeah, it's fair. Yeah. Or Apex or Siege or any of those games that are up
there. Fair correction, but I still think it is worth. I mean, the gaming habits of people are changing pretty drastically. I think some people are afraid of that. It doesn't particularly scare me. But I get why people. It is different. It's different, and that different means that you don't know what the end result's going to be.
The industry is going through rapid changes, and it freaks people out. That's normal. It's
Yep.
normal to get freaked out by rapid changes, folks, but it doesn't mean they're all bad.
Doesn't mean they're all bad, and I think
that's a statement that could be used in many ways right now.
Yeah, it's true.
So very cool, Travis. Oh, sorry, Huck.
Oh no, I was gonna make a joke. I was gonna say Kansas City, home of the Chiefs, right?
For now.
Yeah, for now.
That was the joke.
25 billion in assets isn't enough. You know what I mean? You got to keep taking more.
I'm not going to disagree with you at all.
It's a nonprofit. We got to be profitable above all else. Isn't that what nonprofits are for?
Exactly.
Well, first of all, that's why the legal terminology is usually not for profit and not nonprofit, because you're just not making profit for equity holders. It doesn't mean that you have to avoid all existences of profit, but we don't need to get into that either.
Yeah.
That was the joke, Hogue.
That was the joke.
Yeah.
That was the joke.
Shoosh says, I wonder if it's similar to Prince of Persia 2008. This was about Eternal Strands.
I don't think so. I think it really combines a few things. But my elevator pitch would be, it is Shadow of Colossus or Monster Hunter
Wild
meets Tears of the Kingdom, actually, not
Breath
of the Wild. Fine. And the reason Tears of the Kingdom, not because of the open world or the exploration, or it really has very few similarities with Tears of the Kingdom. But the one thing it does have is the physics manipulating powers. And so it kind of takes those physics manipulating powers and it combines it with a combat heavy action adventure game. And so whereas in Tears of the Kingdom, you're using your powers to solve puzzles or to get from point A to point B by creating like a raft out of wood or whatever, in this game, you're just using your powers to fight big monsters and go on like a kind of a hack and slash adventure where you're shooting flames and freezing things and using telekinesis and stuff like that. So it really is like what if we took the idea of having fun and creativity with powers and we applied it to like an action game that incorporated like massive bosses. And they're doing some really cool stuff with Unreal Engine 5, which we'll be talking about on Tuesday.
All right. I will check it out.
Awesome. Yeah. Love to hear it, man. That's really cool. Glad you got to do that. Happy to share it out. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Gamefire.
Now we know you were flying to Quebec.
Yeah. I did. By the way, I do have a correction. I think I stated previously that we were going to do 2 IGN firsts in a row that I was going to be responsible for, April and May. The May IGN first game was delayed, I think 7 months or 8 months. And so that IGN first is now not happening until fall or pretty late in the game. And we'll see how that goes. I'm still planning to cover it, but we are currently moving our calendars around because games get delayed. And that means sometimes when you're covering games, your coverage gets delayed. So
sure. Okay. Gamefire member comment says, waiting for Hellblade 2 previews and the new Gears talk.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and get to that next topic. So yeah, we got the official previews of Hellblade 2 this week. I've read through some of them, checked some of this stuff out. Of course, I want to mostly go in dark on Hellblade 2. But wanted to hear what people were saying. I read IGN's, I read a few others, but sounding really, really impressive. I get a lot of, if you enjoyed Hellblade 1, obviously you're going to enjoy Hellblade 2. Looks like they've upped the game a lot, especially in the combat area, which I'm happy to hear.
I was surprised by the refocusing on one-on-one combat. That was not I would not have guessed that. Yeah.
No, and I wonder if it's because it's that kind of over-the-shoulder, intimate, kind of very visceral, for lack of a better word, combat they're going for. I don't really know. Brutal, maybe is a good word, but yeah, same thing. But I've liked what I've read. It's kind of what I was hoping to get out of Hellblade 2, a tight, 10-hour psychotic, dark, crazy adventure or continuation. That's my sort of thing. Let's do it. I'm in.
I think you mean psychological and not psychotic, right?
Yes, I did. Thank you. Yeah, psychological. But some of the technology, reading about what they're doing with Unreal 5 is really interesting. Doubling down on kind of the her kind of schizophrenic, tendencies and what's going on the screen, and the binaural audio and everything just sounds really, really cool. I'm super excited about this game.
Have you guys ever done one of those like schizophrenia like I don't know what they're called. It's where you like put earbuds in your ears and it like it's supposed to replicate the experience of having schizophrenia. Like it has like people like talking to you and like shouting like doubts at you and stuff. And you can like take that and like go out in the world, try like go grocery shopping with like this thing in your ear. It's really surreal. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that. You can.
My wife has that just normally without, she just,
You just calling your wife schizophrenic on the show, bro?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow. Yeah. That's hardcore. Get to that level of comfort in your relationship, folks. Just call your wife schizophrenic straight up to the world. It's crazy.
Vintage Willow said it's called hearing voices training. It's what she said. It's one of the most impactful trainings I did.
It's crazy. It gives you so much empathy for like, if you ever walk down the street and you see somebody like talking to themselves or whatever, or like seems like they're having like a bad time in life. If you do one of those things, dude, it gives you so much empathy for those people because it's hard to not talk back after a while because they're like taunting you and stuff. And it's like it's like you're just not able to control the voices you're hearing. It's really frustrating after a while.
I liked Hellblade 1, but I didn't love it. So a sequel is fine. I'm hopeful that it'll be enjoyable. But I really thought they had run out of ideas by the end of the first one.
To me, a game that I liked but didn't love, which I would describe Hellblade as probably like a 7 for me, right? Is exactly the type of game I want to see sequels on. Because a game that's like a 10 out of 10, I feel like the only way you can go is down. And, at that point, you've kind of reached it. But I like to see these ideas that were good premises that maybe if they had more money and more time or whatever, they could take it to the next level and see like what is a 9 out of 10 version of that idea. So I hope they do really well. I
love that argument.
Yeah.
I like that idea too.
I am certainly heartened by the preview stuff I've seen, but like Ains, I'm sort of keeping it blind on this one because I really am looking forward to just enjoying this. I don't think I'm going to be involved in any of its coverage, which is a nice change for me. So I'm excited to see if they can pull it off. But again, they got a lot of chips riding on this, man. They've shown it for like 6 years to us, and so
for a long time.
I do think
they in that sentence. You talking about Ninja Theory or Microsoft?
Microsoft.
Okay.
I just think, you put that much pressure on a game. It's kind of like with PlayStation showing No Man's Sky all the time and like putting all this expectation on it. You play against yourself a little bit if you don't then deliver. And so maybe it'll be a Cuphead and it will deliver and be amazing. Maybe it won't.
Cuphead.
That's the fun.
I'll play Cuphead actually.
And that was one of those games that had a lot of pressure because they showed it so much. And then it came out and it was like, oh yeah, it is as good as it looked. Fantastic.
Oh yeah, it is.
It's a pity their method requires them to spend 10 years making a game. But
it is a pity that it takes long, but boy, do the results matter, right? It's great.
Dan, where were you on Hellblade? I can't remember. Do you care for this?
About the same as Hogue, probably. I mean, I thought it was good, but I mean, it wasn't like, it was a cool, neat little mechanic with the headphone wearing, and I didn't really care for the combat. As there wasn't a whole lot in there anyway.
The alignment puzzles are pretty brutal.
It didn't strike me as special when I played it, right? It wasn't one that really jumped out at me.
Yeah. I mean, I understand where people, I kind of understand how people would see it that way. And, they call it brilliant and masterpiece. And but for me, it was just like,
the performances,
it was all right.
That's pretty special. The performances in the game.
I thought they had done better with Heavenly Blade, honestly.
Oh, there you go.
I'm not sure that sentence has been said before.
The performances were really good. It had a really interesting idea. I'd never really seen that kind of unique in your own head audio design stuff. So I just think it had like a kernel of like, that's interesting. And that's really all you need if, like for a sequel, I think if they can run with that idea.
I like that argument, Travis. I'm just telling you, as I experienced it, that was another game I played.
Yeah, it was hard to get into. And continue, I had to start it over like 2 or 3 times just to get all the way through it. Yeah, I think I started it on the PlayStation. I ended up finishing it on Xbox eventually.
Well, it's very samey all the way through, right? And one hope I would have is that 2 is not. Maybe
it does drag a little bit, and I will say I like that it was short because I think Hellblade 1 was one I beat in like a single sitting. I was just like,
it's pretty short generally.
You got a day. I'm just gonna power through it, but I think towards the end they start to overstay their welcome, and so this being a shorter game that excites me, makes me think maybe if it just respects your time and just crushes it. Sometimes those are the best types of games. Kind of reminds me of like Inside, right? Like really brief game, but like that, it just hits so hard and it doesn't overstay its welcome. And sometimes that's the best thing you could do.
Little Nightmares.
I can't tell you how many games I've reviewed that, you know, at the 10-hour mark, I'm thinking, okay, this is maybe like a 6. It's kind of okay. But then the game is like 40 hours. And by the 40th hour, I'm like, no, this game's bad. This is a 4 out of 10, because games do get worse if they make you repeat the same loop over and over again without any sort of like changing of the game or, you know, it's just like eating plain quinoa for 3 meals a day for 2 weeks. It's just the more you're forced to do it, the worse it gets for you. And so
the hell is quinoa?
What is quinoa?
What?
Whoa. Oh wait, actually, Dan, you know what? I know the problem. You know it better as quinoa.
Quinoa?
No?
Quinoa?
Oh my God, he doesn't know what quinoa is.
I thought you were being sarcastic.
This is a reverse San Francisco right here. This is what we call that.
Kansas is not taking the blame for this one.
I think it is, dude. You got a true son of Kansas here who doesn't know what quinoa is. I dare you to try to find one person in San Francisco who doesn't know about quinoa. I dare you.
It's a grain, Dan. I think.
It's a seed.
He's looking it up. He found it as a seed. I believe it is a seed. Yeah.
It is a seed.
Eat more.
It's not terrible. Quinoa is like mushrooms.
Great.
It's as good as the person cooking it. It's as good as the person cooking it, right? It doesn't have like, it is bland if you just eat it plain. But
on what you're blending it into. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. If you've ever made like tacos that incorporated or like a quesadilla, quinoa could be great, man.
The first video is how I made quinoa taste 10 times better.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's what you have to. It's a canvas for you to put flavor into.
It's one of the little facts for you. It's one of the few non-meats that has a full range of amino acids. So there you go.
It's like tofu, right? It's like it's whatever it tastes like. It's whatever it's with.
Yeah, but I would say,
I mean, tofu sucks.
I tend to agree with that. I think tofu is less good at the thing it tries to accomplish. It also just has a really nice texture. I'm getting this is becoming Foodcast. Ains, let's start cooking again.
We always do the Foodcast at some point.
Gotta get our show down, bro.
It took us 2 hours. We lasted a long time for this Foodcast.
That's true. We held out. We held out on this one. Anyway, it's good, Dan. It's healthy. Quinoa is very good for you. Eat more of it.
Yeah. Can you find it in a McDonald's and or a barbecue joint?
There's probably McDonald's somewhere that has quinoa.
Actually, yeah. You know what? I've been to barbecue places that have quinoa.
I was going to say there's probably some barbecue in places like San Francisco that have quinoa.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, I hate to break, but look, some stereotypes are true. Californians love quinoa, just like we like our yoga hot. We love that. You know, you gotta do it.
Just to be clear, Dan, all I was trying to establish is that quinoa is not the scooped bagel of the world.
It is not. Really is out there. It is not that. No. Scoop bagel, just to be clear, scoop bagel, even as a San Franciscan, scoop bagel is offensive to me. And the people who do it are weird. Just to be clear. It's not normal. Yes. It's not normal San Francisco stuff. Most San Franciscans look at scoop bagels and go, why? Why would you do that?
Kelly C in our chat says Panera has it. I believe that.
That sounds right.
I like Panera.
That's probably right. Yeah. Yeah,
it's good.
Gracefully saying, yeah, Ains is one of the few that is fully natured protein. That's right. She knows what she's talking about.
Do I look like somebody who is looking at my natured protein?
I don't know. Let's take a look at that lower half body Dan cam. Oh, he's throwing it back in a circle. Good job.
Stop it.
About to happen.
All right. Well, to get Travis going again, because he's ranted about this before, I'm going to bring up the fact that it obviously came out that with the type of game it is and the technology it's pushing, Hellblade 2 is 30 FPS on Series X. And as always, when a big game is 30 FPS, we have to hear about it and argue about it. So, Travis, get him.
Yeah, if you've ever played a game that is not a first-person Twitch shooter, you have already realized that 60 FPS is certainly not a necessity in all games. If you want 60 FPS and you're that type of person, I'm sure they will have an option for you on PC. If not, I think you're play it and then tell me if the frame rate scares you. I fully believe that almost all of the people who scream online about frame rate are doing so when they hear the number before playing the game, and then they either don't play the game because they object to it morally for some reason. But yes, the frame rate fascists are out in true form. and they can go take a hike because you suck.
Morally is funny, actually. I really like that. So I will say what I always say on this topic, which is that 60 is better. 120 is better than 60. Higher numbers are better here, but 30 is in no way a deal breaker. But I will also add that there are games that say that they're at 30, that are really targeting 30, that are fluctuating all over the place below 30, and that's not fun. There are ways to implement even 30 frames that aren't great. It really does depend on a game-by-game basis as to how that's been implemented. I tend to like mine with a little bit more motion blur added than some others do. That's really up to you. It's going to be reasonable minds may differ. Your mileage may vary. But overall, it would be better if it were 60. It's not 60. And the thing that people don't realize about these consoles or even PCs at some level is that the game developers can always raise the sparkles up to whatever level they want and lower the frame rate as part of the payment for the economics there. And while we got a lot of 60 frames per second games on the transition between generations, developers are very often going to pick more sparkles in those frames because they make better screenshots and they sell more games for them. So a lot of companies have decided to essentially aim their graphics budget at a 30 frames per second level rather than a 60 frames per second level, because a lot of people, even though you hear about it online, don't necessarily feel the difference or don't think they feel the difference, and the screenshots will always look worse, like you see on a VR game or something like that. And I know this from having talked with people at Insomniac that used to have a 60 frames per second requirement back, if you think about like the PlayStation 2 Ratchet and Clank days. And this is what they determined, was that people were saying the graphics were bad and that they weren't really getting the extra sales they thought they would for the 60 frames per second performance. And then they moved slowly to the areas that they got to in the later PlayStation eras with 30 frames on Ratchet. And then I think now it's 40 with the VRR.
With the VRR, yeah.
But it's always this kind of spectrum. It really is a graphics budget that you can pick whatever technology you've got in your box or your PC and say it can do this many sparkles at 30 frames per second, and it's far fewer for 60 frames, and deciding what it is that you want to sell.
Yeah. I clearly, I've said this before, I would absolutely prefer 60. 30 does not mean unplayable. Obviously frame pacing and the frame rate consistency is key.
Frame locking.
Yeah, so we'll see. But again, I think there, to Hoag's point, there's got to be expectations of what they're going for here, and that Xbox Series X is a $500 or not even $500 anymore console, right? So you have the option to play on a higher end PC if you want those higher frames. Whether or not they do a 60 frame mode, I think is always the question. Stuff like this. I think what they've said, obviously, is the way they're pushing the Unreal 5 tech. And from what I hear from some other people who are more technically inclined on kind of engine talk than I am, because it's Unreal 5 is where some of the struggles come in pushing the higher frame rate on the lower hardware.
It is pretty new.
I am surprised, to your point, because you mentioned it, Hoag, I was going to, that at least I'm surprised they don't have a VRR mode, which we've seen in a lot of these big first party games on the PlayStation side as well, where you can play it in like 40 FPS. We got that in Plague Tale Requiem, if you recall, as well. And it does make a pretty nice.
Seems perfect for me. Like I really can't tell that big of a difference between 60 and 40 with that VRR.
With the VRR, yeah.
So like that,
yeah, it's a
really
shame.
Well.
So I don't know if that'll be added or what, but I am. The nice thing is I am reviewing this Hellblade 2, so I'll have the review for SG for us. But I plan on playing it on both Series X and PC just to kind of see how much of an impact it has, and I'll talk about that. But Dan, I know you are usually on the other end of the spectrum. You are a frame rate guy.
Frame rate fascist.
He's a frame rate fascist, right out there. So
let's see that armband, baby. Let's see it. What you got, baby? Pull it out.
He's got the FF armband.
Yeah, he's got the armband.
No, here's the thing. It's not. I'm not saying the games aren't playable in 30 frames. You know what I played a couple of weeks ago? I reinstalled for some reason Shadows of Mordor, which I love that game.
Great game.
It runs like ass. Okay, on these new consoles. I'm not sure why they haven't. Even Xbox, just give me like that frame boost or whatever. But nothing. It's just 30 frames, and it's kind of rough because that kind of game especially really would benefit from a 60 frames because it's very fast-paced combat. you got stuff coming at you from every different angle when you get in those big battles. And, you know, it was tough, you know, but I kind of sludged through it. Hellblade seems like a game that, you know, 30 frames should be fine with. It's not like a super fast-paced game, you know, and I get that kind of stuff. My problem was the marketing. My problem was, oh, yeah, the 60 FPS is going to be the standard, Aaron Greenberg. No, it's not. All right. Nobody told me that Unreal 5 was coming out when I bought these two things. Nobody told me that, you know, the devs are going to start deciding, we want to sell more games.
To be clear, it's because they didn't know there were going to be bottlenecks.
I'm an idiot. Yeah. All right. I'm an uninformed moron. Here's the problem. I don't know all this garbage about engines and bottlenecks and CPUs and stuff.
Yeah.
When you tell me and you put it on the box that says 60 or 120 frames at 8K, that's what I want. That's what I'm kind of expecting. Yeah. We're never going to get that with these consoles, and it pisses me off that that's how
you're never going to get it at all. What I'm saying is the consoles, if they're 10 times as strong, you're still going to go to the sparkle level that goes to the minimum acceptable frame rates for the biggest audience.
That's garbage.
Well, I think I don't know that it's garbage, but I get your frustration as a consumer. I think the important thing to know is that when the people made the claims, I do not believe they were making them maliciously. I think they didn't know the same things that you didn't know. I don't think that they knew any more that Unreal Engine 5 was going to come out and have bottlenecks or, you know, create these other problems or whatever. And so, I mean, to be fair, there are games that run at 120 FPS, right? Gears 5, I think.
There's quite a few that run at 120, but I do get Dan's frustration at the same.
Totally, 100%. As a consumer, no problem.
I just want an option, right? Like I understand with Hellblade 2, you know, I get that, you know, but any more these days, you know, even when there is a 60 FPS option, a lot of times it's janky or, you know, not fully fleshed out.
We've seen that a lot.
A lot, you know, and that's another thing, you know, if you're going to, I'm tired of these games coming out half-assed, you know, and it's not all of them, but I mean, it just finish up what you're going to do. If you're going to wait 6 months to put in a 60 FPS option, that's not the only thing you can do with those 6 months, right? There's all this other stuff that can be fixed and done and, you know, kind of fine-tuned and stuff, but it's all about money. It's all about hitting that date for these.
Well, also, I also think that it's a very small audience. I don't think the fascists have as many on their team as they think they do. I think most people don't really care. Like if a game is optimized well, they're just consuming it and they're not really aware of like the specific frame rates. They know when a game feels bad or looks bad, but I don't think that they're as aware as people who are on Bitcast or in the comments on YouTube who really are in there. I think they're just sort of like playing it and having fun and not noticing. And so I think if you can release a 60 FPS patch 6 months later for the people who care about it, that's probably the right move because the vast majority of players are not going to care.
Of course it is. You know, I just rather
have it case by case myself. But I think to give credit to the crazies online, the right way to have that fight is to convince people that 60 is the only acceptable frame rate because the developers are always going to build to the lowest acceptable frame rate. So essentially like a political campaign, the fight is to get people to essentially not accept anything less than 60 as commercially sellable.
Yeah, I don't think that that's the right way to do it because I err on the side of like developer freedom, and they if they made a game in 30 FPS and they think it feels good, then that's their vision, and I will judge that vision when I get to play it myself. But I just don't know that you can say
that, but you're establishing an actual minimum of 30, right? If the developer said we think
I don't have a minimum of 30 either. Yeah, I don't.
He prefers 4 FPS.
I think a game could be good in 4 FPS if that's how the developer designed it to play and there's some sort of vision around that. I would love to see what that game looks like, but I do not put any threshold just because I think in creative pursuit saying, well, here's the rules that you have to play your creative pursuit within is kind of crazy. I just don't follow that philosophy. So I'm on the opposite end. I will fight those people and say, you probably don't know what you're talking about. But also to your point, Hogue, I understand they're advocating for something that they care about and they want to see that change in the industry. More power to them. I'm just on the complete opposite side of like creativity is anarchy. You don't know what you're talking about. Let's see what a 30 FPS game can look like in 20 years if it can still be good based on the standards of that day. But
well, I really like the button. Like I really do like performance and quality because it directly shows you what you're paying. Right. You can go and you can have quality mode. You can play it. You can say, all right, it feels like this but the light through the sails is more cool in something like Skull and Bones, right? Like I actually play on quality mode in Skull and Bones, which isn't the biggest deal, but I really like how the volumetric lighting or whatever they're doing with the sun works in that game at quality mode that you lose when you're on performance mode. And it definitely feels better on performance mode, but I made that selection myself. So I like that button when you get to choose what things that you care about, but I don't have a problem with 30 frames per second, period. And it's clear from at least the trailers for Hellblade 2 that they want to do stuff with facial capture. They want to do things that hopefully we haven't seen before. And I'm in favor of that. I think where you got most of the fighting was when they said it was for cinematic reasons. I think that one of the messages was we wanted it to be more cinematic, something along those lines, which really is sparkles. But that's where people get upset, is they said, well, you can be perfectly cinematic at 60. And you kind of can in video games. I will say, if you go play some games that have their cutscenes changed for the frame rate that you're at, 60 still feels weird. 60 still feels soap opera in most instances, for me at least.
I like that you said sparkles like 4 or 5 times this show.
I just love to say the word sparkles. I don't know what to tell
you. But we've learned from Mrs. Hoglaw, who betrayed your trust, that you don't like quinoa.
I don't like quinoa, but I know what it is.
She says you find it offensive.
Oof.
Well, she sometimes subs in quinoa.
He's aggressively anti-quinoa.
Yeah, I want to know what the issue is, because it sounds like a classic case of maybe somebody cooking it who doesn't know how to make it taste amazing.
Well, I don't know why you are insulting my wife's cooking as part of the show, but
I didn't know that she was the one cooking
quinoa instead of rice.
I don't know who does the cooking in your house. I do the cooking in my house, so I might have been insulting your cooking. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean,
why would I make that assumption, Hogue? Let's challenge all of your gender roles. Let's do it right here.
You just don't
live on the air. Do we have a gender role segment? Let's roll.
No, we certainly do not.
Yes. That is not happening.
No, we certainly do not. That's the best answer you possibly could do.
It's the same thing as the Bloat Goat logo. Challenging gender roles. Boom.
Listen to these 4 guys challenge gender roles.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Listen, all right. The one thing will be fine at 30 frames. I think it'll be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll look great. I'm sure of it. You know, I just like I said, it's mostly the marketing stuff. It's mostly, I feel like, you buy a new TV for some of this stuff. You go out, I get this VRR crap on my TV now. I got to make sure that this does 100. You're in it for $2,000 next thing you know, and then a year later you start seeing, well, we can't really do that anymore with our games because we're pushing for this. And this is kind of the direction we want to go in. I'm like, yeah, you selfish ass devs. Come on. Make it for me.
Selfish
devs. One time. It's more hyperbolic than it is anything else for me, but it still drives me nuts. Still drives me crazy.
I tend to agree a lot of the time that the devs favor certain things that don't give me a lot of bang for my buck sometimes, ray tracing being one of them. Yeah. And I like having the option to press the buttons to turn those things off. But we'll see.
One thing that does interest me, just because I'm fascinated by kind of the tech that goes into the games, because if you think about the performance, and I always forget the main character's name, the real actress from Ninja Theory, but who played Senua. We talked a lot about her performance in the first one and facial expressions and all that stuff, right? In the IGN preview, it says that they did the motion capture for Hellblade 1 in 2 days. Which is kind of crazy. Whereas in part 2 here, if you don't know, Ninja Theory built an in-house state-of-the-art motion capture studio. And then while developing Hellblade 2, they have done 70 days of motion capture for this game. So they talk about the improvements in like animations and the combat and all this other stuff. I'm excited to see that on screen. To see how it translates.
I think it's good to be excited about things that excite you. I mean, I think I'm not going to take away your hype. I will play it when it comes out, and I'm hoping it's great.
Sure. Yeah. No.
It boils down. This is all Digital Foundry's fault. Let's just really put it out there. These guys, they make this. You guys do Digital Foundry times. Yeah. Oh, look at this. You can see this other play the grass over here.
No.
I don't think that there's anything wrong.
Melina Juergens, thank you.
Yeah, I don't think there's really anything wrong with like
Juergens.
The consumer pushing for people for devs to optimize their games better, right? Like if you have absolutely no pushback on that, then you let devs sort of get away with, unoptimized games that don't perform well or run well. So I think there is a natural balance. I just think some people want it to be a little too far, a little too militant in what they consider the bare minimum for a game to be acceptable, regardless of creative vision or stuff like that. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with people pushing the other way, though, especially from a consumer perspective. Generally speaking, more pixels and frames is better. And I think, everybody wants the games to feel good while you're playing them.
Yeah, I mean, those are standards, right? Yep. Yeah. About Digital Foundry, it's funny, Dan, you mentioned that. We were talking in Discord about it the other day, and I said, they do good work, and I think they set out to do things that were generally meaningful. And of course, now it's sadly a lot of the stuff they do is kind of mountains out of molehill type work, and it's kind of frustrating, a lot of that stuff, because it creates all these narratives around things that really we shouldn't even be talking about. They're not even worth talking about.
I don't care about 3 extra blades of grass.
It's like, they were talking like Forza and GT7. I watched that one, and they were like zooming in to the trees in the distance, and I'm like, nobody's looking at that while I'm racing around the track. Like,
listen, everybody in the chat that's like not old, when you get older and your eyesight just start going, it's gonna get so much more clear for you as your eyesight gets worse. You're gonna be like, what did I care about this stuff for? Because it all looks like a big blurry mess anyway. No contact lenses or glasses will fix that, and I wear contacts. It's never going to work. It's just going to be garbage. Nobody cares, and then you can barely hit the buttons in the how you're supposed to. It's
Dan, you're falling apart, my friend.
I'm falling apart. I don't care, guys.
This episode has been chaos.
It sure has. This is what happens when the four of us get back together. A couple comments to catch up on here.
All right. Console Peasant with the 10 euros. Just here to show some love. Well, thank you. Hey, we'll take whatever we can get.
That's what we're all about. Thank you so much.
If you give us $10, you can show some, a little bit of hate, maybe. I mean, or whatever you want.
No, don't pay for hate. Don't pay to share hate.
$10 is $10.
Pay for hate.
The rules of life. It's $50 is $50. Fire is hot, and never turn down free food. And also, if she stabs you, it's over. It's 4 rules of life. You live your life by those, and you're good to go. That's all you need.
I like to think we just got the talk from Dan.
I don't know what's going on in this episode. I'm just letting it go at this point.
You're welcome.
Sarnisms.
Yay. With a member comment, Dev Ambition is like clutter, cats, and gas. It expands to fill the available space. That's 30 FPS, but pretty.
Clutter, cats, and gas. That's great. Thank you, sir.
Love it.
All right.
That can all feel good, though. That can all feel good.
A couple of things I wanted to mention about upcoming summer. So a couple things came out this week. Basically, we knew that Summer Game Fest was June 7th, which is a Friday. And then per The Verge, as of Friday, I believe, or maybe even yesterday, they announced that Xbox Showcase is going to be June 9th, as on a Sunday, as it always is. And then Ubisoft actually announced that they're going to do their summer thing, which is kind of cool. Ubi Forward on Monday, June 10th. So it almost feels like, it feels like a, mini June 3 sort of week, kind of. June 3. E3. June 3. So we're lining up some shows, but as part of the Xbox Showcase, what's kind of come out in terms of rumors that are swirling right now, which we see always before these damn shows, is Gears and State of Decay. So I've got the Gears hat on for a reason. I've been waiting to hear about more Gears. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm the only Gears guy on this panel.
No. Gears. Love Gears. Gears.
Gears.
Include me. Include me in the Gears.
He's like, no. Gears.
Gears.
That was great.
I'd like to propose that we call that week June 3 with the E in June replaced with the number 3.
There you go.
Nice.
That's perfect.
Nice. All right. That's that's going to go with our bloat goat and whatever else I've got to create now.
Challenging gender rules segments. Yeah.
What do I think of Gears?
Yeah, I'm not taking that one, guys. That one's on you.
Gears is great. I recently replayed all the Gears with my fiance because she had played none of them and she really loved it.
How dare she?
I know, right? How dare she indeed?
For shame.
So yeah, I'm a big fan of Gears. It's sort of like just a junk food game for me.
It is literally the Fast and Furious of games franchises. So I
Kind
shouldn't have
of,
been as
and
surprised as I was.
I take that as
Hoag's
a
about to get
compliment.
booted off this panel.
It's a compliment, bro. It is kind of like that.
Dude, don't talk down on Gears that way, my friend. Come on.
Talk
Gears
up on
is
Gears,
dumb
bro.
fun at best, Danes.
It
is dumb fun,
It should
but
be
it's not
honored to be mentioned in the
stupid
same
fun.
breath as Fast and Furious.
Oof.
Great game.
Terrible. You guys
Great
are
game,
just
great
you're
show,
crapping
great
all
movie.
over my IP right now.
No,
No, Gears
I'm
is
not a fan.
fantastic. I love Gears. You know, the thing I love about Gears, one of the things I love about Gears is it still comes in that kind of template like Xbox has done for a while, where you get the single player, you get the narrative, you get the characters, but then you get a multiplayer suite as well, which, you know, I've always wanted out of PlayStation, and they did it a little bit with like Uncharted and Resistance at the time and stuff. But I love that I'm going to be able to play this game. You know, obviously the campaign is going to, I assume, continue the story of Gears 5, which is going to be interesting because if you finish
Very
Gears
interesting.
5, yeah, you know that there is a choice that you made in that game where a core character dies. And it can be one of two core characters. So we're going to see how they continue that from a canon perspective. But I'm also excited, more importantly, I'm more excited because Gears 5 multiplayer was good at launch, but it was missing what a lot of the core Gears fans kind of loved long term. And it's really evolved over the past few years into something.
You're talking about
pretty
the multiplayer
great
sandbox?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's evolved
Agreed.
a lot, and it's actually become really, really solid. And I'm just really curious to see what they do with that. The other thing to know about Gears, of course, is that the team at Coalition are like Unreal Engine experts, and from what we should know, they're going to be the ones that really kind of show what UE5 can do from a technology perspective. They'll be at the forefront of that. So I'm super excited for more Gears.
Maybe an unpopular opinion, but I actually think Gears 5 might be the best Gears game. I absolutely adore the multiplayer sandbox. And
yeah, you're gonna get skewered for that one.
Yeah,
not from me necessarily, but just others.
And I love Gears 5's story so much. And I actually think for like Hoag, I don't know what your exposure is to Gears story, but I think 4 and 5 really moved Gears in a more serious direction. They still have like the goofiness and over the top action, but I think the stories they tell and the characters, they get a lot better, and I would say less one-dimensional than in the original Gears trilogy. So
I think I've played about half of 4 and 5. 5 doesn't have a number on it officially, right?
It does.
It's just not Gears of War.
They removed the of War. Yeah,
it's Gears 5.
It's Gears 5. Yeah. Yeah. But Gears 5, I absolutely love the like open hub world thing they did, where you're like skiffing around and stopping and doing like little.
So I was going to ask about that.
I love that.
Some people don't like that they kind of expanded the world gameplay out. I liked it personally, but I think Gears 5, like narratively, is stronger than it gets credit for.
Way stronger. I really like that game. And a counterpoint, my fiance didn't like the open world stuff because to her it made the game so big that she was like it felt like overkill to her. Like it was just a little bit too much, because she really kind of liked the turn your brain off and just go down single hallways and stuff. And I think there is something to be said. There's a certain player who just wants that. To me, it just reminded me a little bit more of like the original Gears of War, which is one of my favorite ones because it has more of like that game is almost like a puzzle game. I mean, every section of the game has like a kind of theme, whether it's you dodging the what are the birds called, the krill or whatever, the bird things
krill,
that fly
you
around.
got it.
Yeah, the bird things that fly around and staying in light and stuff like that, or
the berserker.
The berserker is like a mechanic.
Awesome.
They every section just has like a really cool puzzle. I really adore the first Gears of War, and I think Gears 5 got the closest to that because of the way it used its little hub worlds. And to me, it didn't feel like bloat. It didn't feel like it was too big. There were just a couple things to do on each map, and I really like that game, man. I think that game's so underrated.
I haven't gotten far enough in it to critique it too much. I've just never really liked the storytelling or the world.
Ains, throw into the DM me. Who did you choose at the end? I'm interested to hear.
Yeah, we'll talk off. Yeah, okay. That's fine.
I like this is gonna hear Kate Diaz over Marcus Phoenix. How about that? I'll take Kate over Marcus.
As a main, you mean like your main lead?
Yeah.
I really like Kate. I think that
Kate over JD for sure.
Done.
Yeah,
Yep.
I don't know why they made JD the way they made him. They made him kind of like obnoxious. Kate, I really like, and the whole thing with her family history and Mira and what's going on there is what they have to dive into in the next one, right? Without kind of spoiling too much. Maybe I already did. But I think that Marcus, it's kind of like they had a situation with Marcus like they do with Chief. It's like you try to move away from him in Gears, and you just he's got to be there.
I actually think he is a stronger character as an old grumpy man who's upset about his tomatoes.
I do too.
I think he's a way stronger character.
I love old Marcus. He's awesome.
Old Marcus is great. My God, they're tomatoes. That literally, I will never forget that line. And I also love the new mob they introduced. The robot army, I think, is way more interesting than I thought it was going to be, because usually fighting bots is kind of a pet peeve of mine. I think robots aren't that interesting usually. But they did a great job. And then the way they alter that faction in Gears 5, no spoilers, is also really cool. 5 is so underrated. I mean, I replayed this game like 6 months ago, so it's fresh in my mind, but I really like that game.
I need to play it again.
I literally don't know how you play as many games as you do, Travis, but
no life, no family, no loved ones. Go, 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 go.
Oh man, but we'll see. There's some pretty there's a lot of things they can do with Gears, and it's been in dev a long time. The tech behind it, they've polished up Gears 5. They did Hive Busters. If you turn on Gears 5 right now on your Series X, by the way, you can play that in 120 FPS. You can play it in 60 FPS. It's eye-meltingly gorgeous. It's a beautiful game, what Coalition does with Unreal. So I'm really excited to see what they do with Gears 6. Now, State of Decay 3, which, Dan, I'm going to lean on you for this one. So State of Decay 3 is supposed to kind of take State of Decay to the next level, right? Be that kind of full-featured open-world zombie sim. We haven't seen anything from this game. All we've seen is a cinematic trailer. We haven't seen any gameplay. And they've been in development for a long time now. They were brought on by Microsoft. They've expanded their studio. So I have to say that expectations are quite high for this. Well, where are you at with it?
To speak like Dragon's Dogma, right? I don't want to speak for Dan, but my expectation is that it will be expanded. It will also be a little bit junky, right? Like that's what this team puts out. That's what State of Decay is. And that can be okay if they make a good game out of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's my favorite Xbox game. It's probably the one I put most hours into. I love Undead Labs. I think I'm much higher on 2 than I was on 1. 1 was really kind of I love 2.
That's surprising. Okay.
And they've supported 2 extensively.
They just
I love 2 as well, but I don't know, for whatever reason my friend group was really into 1, and then 2 they're divided on. There's some of us that really liked it, of which I count myself, but about half of my friend group were like, oh, it wasn't the same as 1. So
there's a lot more to it. It was definitely more I don't know how to say it. Maybe
I feel like one did a better job at certain things, like your relationships with the survivors, and it felt like a little more canned, whereas 2 was sort of like more kind of open, I guess.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. They've done a great job supporting it. They're still, I mean, just a couple months ago, they put out a whole new update where you basically add randomized events or conditions to whatever it is you're doing. You can turn that on and off. They continue to, it's still got some live service elements in it with like what the hell is his name? The bounty hunter guy, or the guy that's in the van. He sells you a bunch of stuff.
Yet another live service game Dan loves. Yeah. Interesting.
I mean, it's very light. I like my live service.
It is light live service.
Yeah. It is, light, very, very light. So I hope they continue that. I hope there's, they do some character creation stuff where you can kind of pick, maybe create your own character. Maybe
I forgot. Hive Busters is so good.
Hive Busters is good, yeah. Yeah, it was funny because I told you guys I reinstalled Division 2 and I was playing that, and I was just thinking like State of Decay, like trying to think, could you do something more like that to your point, Dan, where you kind of create your character, more character building, exploration, while having obviously the State of Decay world and everything that goes along with that.
Yeah, the same thing. I mean, it's the problem with State of Decay 2 and really that kind of game is it gets kind of repetitive after a little while. Now, what's nice about and what they did was they allowed you to take your group instead of finishing out, because once you finish, the game ends, like your little area or whatever it is.
And then you have to start it over, right?
Yeah, you could actually just take your whole group with the whatever supplies that you had to the next county, establish your base and do all that stuff. I would like to,
That's what I do whenever.
I do it every time. Like I don't. Yeah,
I've never all my stuff and I move to the next county, different name, different life.
That's it.
Bow tie, Travis.
Yeah.
It's not. You don't have to think a whole lot, which is right up my alley. Just kind of mindless. Shoot the zombies. It's always you always hit that. You always know when you hit that peak of when like you're struggling. Then it's just like, oh, here it is. Yes, and then you just kind of own everything. I mean, that's the kind of the feeling I get from that game, and I loved it. I probably have 500 plus hours into it. I would say.
Yeah, you've played that game a ton. Yeah, he's played a ton.
I really like.
I think I reviewed that game. Good game.
I think.
Yeah.
Did you review it, Dan, for us way back when?
I did. No,
I don't remember.
I don't think it was. I don't know.
Back when they allowed you to review games before the incident, the Doc times, before the Empire.
Yeah, it was the Kino.
I really like procedural generation and the efforts that developers make towards like emergent storytelling, and I think State of Decay is one of the games that gets the closest to that. So I hope State of Decay 3 is great. I'm more excited about that as a project than Gears 6. That's just me being honest.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I mean, I think that's fair. They're both pretty great games, so I'm gonna take that as
I'm looking forward to both those. We'll see what happens here. With these summer shows. Obviously, this is the first live show that Keeley's doing with Summer Game Fest. We'll see if it's all ads and the usual stuff we get, or if we get some kind of interesting debuts with Xbox and Ubi directly after it. I have to think they'll save obviously their stuff for there. Ubi, of course, if you guys didn't see, as soon as they announced this show, they updated their Twitter banner to Sam Fisher. So
they love to do that move.
I know they teased Splinter Cell like every year for for the past decade.
It'll be a plug into the Division 2. Sam Fisher's coming to the Division 2.
Skull and Bones.
Skull and Bones. Yeah.
I would wear the Fisher gear in Skull and Bones.
Me too.
The 3 green light sails. Yeah. I could do that.
Totally.
I got it in Ghost Recon, man.
Speaking of the Jeff Keighley stuff, a developer recently told me that Jeff Keighley asks for like absurd sums of money to get like a slot of the shows. Did you guys know this? Maybe I was just completely ignorant because I
have to imagine it was a lot of money, but I didn't know.
It is like obscene amounts of money. Like, an indie developer going like, "Hey, we want to announce our game, a Game Awards show," and then Keeley's like, "Here's what it's going to take for me to get you time." Because I got the ads thing, but I didn't know that even the slots that are just like editorial, he's selling those for like a lot of money. That crazy.
Surprise me.
How much
I'm sorry. I guess my thought process was, of course, Travis. I mean,
it doesn't surprise me.
The show is.
I just assumed that that's what the ads were paying for.
Oh well,
no.
He's got
his trips.
That's just not how. That's not how like IGN would do things. We're not like being like, "Oh, you want to be IGN first game?"
Now wait a minute.
Cut a check.
You telling me that no money changes hands for the IGN first marketing play?
No,
really.
It's mutually beneficial. We get exclusive stories and access, and they get to promote their game with us. So
honestly, that surprises me more than the Game Award stuff, Travis.
I guess maybe it's just I'm on this side of the fence, so seeing that is like very surprising to me. It's just very surprising.
I mean, I'm thrilled that you're getting to do an IGN first, but that to me is a marketing package, right? That's a product that IGN sells, and if it just sells it for access, that's fine. But it's something of value.
Yeah, but I think I just assumed the like IGN first, Jeff Keighley's show would be you're trading your ability, like Jeff Keighley gets to announce the game, right? That's what he's getting out of it. So more people see his show, so his ads are worth more. Like that's the model. It just seems weird to me to not only charge the ads, but then also for the content. It's crazy.
I like that you're thinking more how I would think, because to me, I'm not a greedy person. You know what I mean? So I'd be like, oh, we get to show the game. I'm good. I'd be happy. Yeah. But it doesn't surprise me knowing because Keeley's approach is probably saying, hey, I'm going to put 80 million eyes on your game. You better pay me to do that.
That just,
dick.
for me, it's like
that's how it works.
That 80 million eyes on the show make the ads more expensive because you can sell them for more. So like that would be
which he probably does.
That's just, it's weird to me.
I'll
just say, I thought I knew a lot about this industry, but somebody told me that and I was like flabbergasted. I was like, what? Like that's crazy.
It's just so disingenuous then. I mean, because all this thing it's I'm we're bringing you all this great stuff because we're all gamers and this and this and this. Yeah, they paid me a crap load of money for the 5-second slot.
Of course they did.
That's garbage. All right. Either listen, you can make enough on the ads, to buy a new shoe of Nikes for your next show that you got to, wear with your suit, like some kind of pretentious a-hole, or fund your Kojima trips or whatever.
Stan rant time. Stan rant time. Let him go.
Crazy that's. I would never. I'm on Travis's side on this. I don't know how that's even the thing. Like that's
crazy. It's just very surprising to me. But maybe that's the difference between traditional media and whatever the influencer thing.
But I agree with you guys. It's just not surprising.
It's not an editorial function that the Game Awards performs or that Summer Games Fest performs, right? It's just a showcase, right? It's not IGN. It's not a Consumer Reports mechanism. I don't understand, I guess, why you wouldn't sell that spot, except, of course, Dan views it as a betrayal.
I guess my concern would be that you're not showing the best content for the show. You're just showing the people that were willing to pay the highest price. And to me, that does not a good show make. So for me, I would just want to make the show as good as possible with the best reveals, and then more viewers, you could sell the ads for more. And that to me makes sense because then you're doing the best for the viewer and you're doing the best for your advertisers because now you're going to have more viewers. So I don't know.
The advertisers only see the number, right? They're not looking at like the satisfaction level of the show. That'll be apparent in the next year number.
Yeah. So
trend lines.
My thinking would be better games means the number of viewers goes up, and so that's all they care about, right?
Yeah.
But that's just my
economics.
logic.
You have a limited supply of slots for your show, so you're going to say, okay, I've got 200 possibilities here, because presumably most indies would be happy to be on the show.
Probably.
And so you say, okay, we're going to have to figure out a way to solve this, and money seems like a good way.
Yeah, I bet he doesn't charge Kojima jack crap.
Yeah, I have to wonder. Like, is Kojima like a sponsor of the show, or is he just getting like friends with benefits situation?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
anyway, sorry to turn this into totally
mind.
uninteresting insider gossip, but I just
it's clearly an episode about ethics in games journalism.
Yeah, right. Make that the headline. It'll run for years.
So anyway, I am excited that Ubisoft is back. So I should be, Travis, we got to talk offline, because it would be awesome if you would come up to LA for one of these, or come down to LA, for one of these events. Cause I plan to be at the Xbox show on June 7th June 9th for the Xbox show. And I'm going to reach out to Ubisoft because it's a live event, I presume. We'll see if they have crowd.
Yeah, so I was originally planning on going down because we're also doing an event, IGN Live, around that time.
Right.
But I am no longer certain that I will have a good reason to be there. So I'm basically just waiting to see if I get an assignment around that time. I usually know my assignments like a month in advance, so probably sometime in May I'll know if I have a role down there. But I don't know. A lot of last minute stuff going on, so we'll see.
Fair enough.
And
but
anyway, can I walk back one step here? I know we're obviously already running long, but Ains, you said something like this was the first live Summer Games Fest show, but what was opening night live before, right? Like Keeley always did a summer live show.
This is as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, anyone, but I think they said this is the first live show with an audience. Like
I see what you're saying. Okay.
You know what I mean? Like where I could go to it, right? Or you could go to it. There's tickets that he's going to be selling.
All right.
Yeah.
For $3,000.
So I don't know how that changes the show or what's going to happen. That's what I meant at the beginning when I said, is this going to be like the Video Game Awards, where it's a bunch of, because that's a live show too, but we still get all those ads and promotions and everything else. So it's going to be interesting to see. Because like if you think about how Ubisoft or Xbox do their shows, which is more in the old E3 style, June 3 style, you don't get all those kind of you know what I mean, streamer ads and all the stuff that Keighley plugs all the time.
Yeah,
so.
no, I would expect it to be like opening night live has been, only that where we had the kind of green screen walkarounds and have the backgrounds change would have to be different for how it's presented to a live audience, would be my guess. But that would make opening night live was a version of the Game Awards, so I would expect it to be similar.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. I won't actually be able to get to LA by the 7th. I'll be in Colorado for a family vacation. I'm actually, the way this works out, I may actually be flying from Colorado and having my family drop me off at the airport in Colorado and Denver to then fly to LA so I can be there for the Xbox show.
You're already out there. Might as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm halfway there, or a quarter way, whatever. So the only other thing I want to mention here, and this is courtesy of our buddy Jez over at Windows Central. He mentioned, he wrote an article yesterday that basically breaking the story that Sarah Bond has formed a new team dedicated to game preservation within Xbox. So the quote saying, "We are building our strong history of backwards compatibility, and we remain committed to bringing forward the amazing library of Xbox games for future generations of players." This was tied back to the comment she had made during the business update around them already working on their next generation of hardware. So not too much to discuss here other than the fact that I like that Xbox is talking about continuing to keep all of your game library playable as they move forward with new hardware. I think I wish that all of the three major kind of console players would do that as well.
I think it's pretty much a certainty that they will. I mean, it would be.
I think so too. I like hearing it. You know what I mean? I think it's cool that.
Phil Spencer said something in an interview a while back where that I thought was really interesting, where he said we lost the worst generation to lose.
Yes,
the Xbox One generation, because it was when everybody was building their digital libraries. Yep. If you don't bring that digital library forward at any point in time, you completely lose that advantage. And so it would hurt Xbox a ton, but it would hurt like PlayStation even more, because then all those people no longer have any faith that their digital library that they've been building up has any meaning, right? They can't take it with them. And so I think
the Switch 2 is definitely going to be,
I think it would be suicidal if they didn't. And I think it would be suicidal if they didn't. And the only example of this that goes against what I'm saying is the PSVR 2, which is very weird that happened. But also I think it might have something to do with how new that market is. And I think they can get away with it more with that expectation. So I don't know. It's a very weird situation, but I do love to see it. And I have to imagine it's going to be a standard going forward forever.
Hope so. Let me get the super chat from Pampa, Mr. Pampa himself.
The $5 super chat. Hey, Pampa. Dan falling apart. Sounds like he needs some quinoa in his life.
For sure.
He pronounced it right. Got it.
Yeah.
Quinoa. It's all through the nose, Dan. You got to pronounce it like the people who eat it. Quinoa. All through the nose.
I already know I'm going to hate this. I can just look at something.
Honestly, it's pretty good.
It's quinoa can be good. It's like a light rice almost. Like, I don't know.
It's like nothing.
Rice.
Rice without the unnecessary carbs, Carb load.
It's
again, not sure where you think I'm worried about carbs. So, I mean, just give me my rice.
Do you like rice?
I love rice.
You'll like quinoa then.
I think you'll like quinoa then.
Quinoa. As long as it's cooked right, it's got some sauce in there, some seasoning. Could be real good.
Not the mushy, wet kind. Like you gotta
don't eat it
right.
Don't eat it plain. I watched a guy eat a plain bowl of quinoa once, and afterward he goes, "That was pretty bland." I was like, "What? Are you insane?"
That's crazy. Quinoa.
Like he was surprised.
Yeah, he was surprised by it. It was very funny.
All right, boys. I think the last thing I just want to mention, which I'm sure you guys I think are excited for, is tomorrow, as we're recording this, of course, is the big trailer for Star Wars Outlaws. So the story trailer. So I'm excited to see this. I'm actually more excited. I don't know about you guys, but personally, I'm more excited for this game than I was Survivor.
Did I Survivor?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I don't know.
Personally.
I think
it's got a possibility. I really liked Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, for instance. And so I think their licensed games can be very good. And I think this one's got a good chance. But it is modern Star Wars as approved by modern Disney.
Good.
Good. I thought you loved
Travis is incorrect there.
I thought you loved what was the show that I still haven't watched that you raved about?
Andor is fantastic, but that's
Disney
the exception that
you
proves
can't,
the rule.
You can't. Oh, that is a fallacious argument. You know it. Exception that proves the rule. Something that disproves my theory means my theory is more correct. Yes, that's how logic works. For sure.
Okay, well, let's take into account then the Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett and the current state of Star Wars movie making.
You're describing every creative company that has hits and misses, my friend. And
Travis, I appreciate your willingness to tilt at these windmills, but Disney is clearly in a downward spiral.
I mean, I will not comment on Disney as a whole, but I will say that their Star Wars content includes victories and includes L's. High Republic is a great example of something that they're just crushing it with. That entire new era is amazing.
And how are the publishing sales on High Republic? Do you happen to know?
I'm looking at quality here, not at how their sales are, because that is irrelevant when you're looking at the quality of the product. And so therefore, you can kindly piss off, good sir. I say to you, sir, you are wrong and out of your depth, you old
I just wanted to understand what you mean by killing it, and I'm glad we got that clarity.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the quality of the product. They like all creative endeavors. There's can't all be winners. There's Book of Boba Fett. I thought that was not that great either, but they have
Obi-Wan was an affront to the entire enterprise.
Okay, that is hyperbolic as all hell, but I will say to you that the fact that there are victories does not make your theory that their Star Wars content is bad.
Andor is one show that they basically didn't pay attention to, that they brought in outsiders to make completely separate from the Disney mainstream, and we're surprised that anybody liked it. So I think it does.
Did you like Rogue One?
Rogue One was
okay. So now there's two. Oh my God, it's like you're wrong. That's crazy. Anyway, moving on.
Rogue One's almost a decade old.
Yeah, and it was a Disney product. So I mean, if you take out all the examples that disprove you wrong and only look at the ones that support your argument, then you're absolutely right.
You have now exhausted the entirety of the set of Star Wars products that are good.
Yeah, I mean,
you guys remember Empire Strikes Back? That shit was the bomb.
Not a Disney product, but yeah, I mean, you can look at many examples of things that are good under the Disney era, including in the video game space. Jedi Survivor is a great example. Disney era. So I mean, if you don't look at the numerous examples that disprove you, then you're right. So I think we can agree on that at least.
I don't think the Jedi games are particularly good. I am hopeful. I started out by saying I'm hopeful that the Outlaws game will be good.
High Republic?
Honestly, I really want to talk about Last Jedi, but we'll save that for another day.
Sure.
Yeah.
Always down to talk about Last Jedi. Great movie.
No. But I'm excited at the prospect of this game. Open world, Star Wars, Ubisoft, as Hogue said, they have fun with their licenses sometimes. I think the game looks good. That's all I'm looking for. Like, I'm not looking at this to be my game of the year. I'm looking at it as a fun kind of open world Star Wars adventure. That's it.
Well, and certainly them kicking off the story trailer separate from what they announced as their Ubisoft show suggests to me that this is an earlier coming game than I thought it was. So
I said it's coming this year still. They said it's coming this year.
But like middle of the year rather than holidays is more on the table.
I bet you we get the release date at UB Forward in June. That would be my guess. And if we get the story trailer tomorrow,
October release date,
early fall, you think? Yeah, I could go with
probably. I would guess.
Yeah.
Maybe I wouldn't be surprised by that summer release. I really wouldn't be. If they're putting a story trailer out at the top of April, I mean, their marketing plan is probably 3 months from there. But
yeah, maybe they have the June show and say it comes out in July.
It could also. Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. I don't know. It kind of makes me more nervous that it's coming out this quick when we've seen almost none of it. But I don't know. I'll hold out hope.
We've seen literally none of it, right? It was just a rendered.
No. We
did see gameplay.
We saw gameplay.
Okay, yeah. I just missed
one. They did one gameplay.
Yeah, and it looked good. But again, you never really know until you play it. And so I'm excited to play it. I hope that it is. I hope it is amazing. But we'll see.
Cool. we get that tomorrow. We'll talk about it next week, obviously. So
it can't be worse than Last Jedi.
No, Last Jedi's great. You just don't get it. That's fine. I'll explain to you.
You just don't get it.
I'll teach you all about it. Someday I'll tell you.
By the way, you're
Travis,
one of your biggest.
I sent you my article on Last Jedi.
I know, and it was terrible. And I'll explain to you why someday. It was awful.
Travis,
really awful.
One of your biggest supporters.
But that's okay.
One of your biggest supporters in our chat, Eleanor, has this to say.
Yeah, no. So I've had people talk about this a lot, and you're so wrong. And I will explain to you why you're wrong in ways. The arguments are so easy to defeat. It's really not even fun for anymore. And you can actually see me talk about some of those topics in the Season Gaming Discord because somebody asked me about it, and I had a little bit of free time at the time, and I wrote some stuff about it. And the guy was so wrong, it was funny, and everybody was kind of laughing at it. So you can go and see that. But yeah, you're wrong, and I will be happy to tell you why.
Oh, man.
Well, the easiest argument to make against Travis is that it fractured and destroyed the Star Wars fan base, and Disney is paying in full for the loss of that Star Wars intellectual property over the past.
That it did. I mean, if your argument is that the Star Wars fan base is a dumpster fire, I will so agree with you because they don't know.
And fomented primarily by
don't know how to take
error in judgment that is The Last Jedi.
Yeah, I would say Rise of Skywalker and a walking back of some of the stuff they should have stood their ground on, but
they would have been stronger if they hadn't done the worst possible thing. I agree there.
Rise of Skywalker? Yeah. No, Rise of Skywalker was a big mistake. I
described Rise of Skywalker as you throw half of the audience out with Last Jedi, and then you say, I'm going to go back and throw the rest of the audience out with Rise of the Skywalker.
Yeah, no, it literally, like, even if you don't think that The Last Jedi is good and you have just bad opinions, the fact that the Rise of Skywalker doesn't satisfy either audience, it doesn't finish the story that it set up, I think you can't even really give The Last Jedi a chance to be redeemed post-mortem, you know what I mean, via the ending of that trilogy, just because I think Disney got scared of its own fan base, which happens all the time. I think creatives should have a little bit more balls and stand by the decisions they made.
It's true. But yeah, although Rian Johnson did salt the earth on his way out, so there wasn't a lot.
I completely disagree, and I think anybody who says that didn't watch the second half of the movie. But yeah,
I wish I didn't.
Yeah, I wish you didn't too, frankly, because you're part of the fire family.
All right, we're calling time on the Star Wars. I shouldn't have brought up Outlaws.
Anyway, I hope it's good. You did this, Ains. You can't get mad.
I brought up a
game.
You
can't bring up The Last Jedi. No, you said The Last Jedi. You brought it up for the record. It was Ains. So he cannot blame us for getting heated over it.
Yeah, trigger words. Sorry, guys. I forget that my cast here has trigger words. Oh, I love you. It's great. Eleanor says, let it continue. No, we're going to go ahead and wrap up for the week.
Can I make one more call out before we wrap up for the week? Because I do want to mention, I didn't see it on your list. I should have added it for you, but I did want to mention that I am continuing to be excited about the Zhao game that is coming out this month.
Yeah.
That had some announcements this week, had another trailer, had an announcement that they were also going to put it out entirely in Swahili.
Yes.
And I think there's a lot of cool things that are happening with that game that is actually the one I'm excited about the most this month. So
nice.
I really have a lot of hopes for that game.
Me too. I think it looks fantastic. It actually looks a lot of similar in terms of gameplay as the new Prince of Persia, which I adored. I love that kind of side-scrolling Metroidvania, earn your abilities type, explore the world type thing. So it looks fantastic. I love what they're doing with it. I love the story behind it. So I'm completely with you, Hogue. The only other thing I was going to mention, which I have as our last bullet point here, it's not that we need to talk about it today, but it only occurred to me as I was doing these notes that the early access for No Rest for the Wicked is in like a week and a half. So I'm super excited about that as well, because that's you combine ARPG with like soul stuff and you've sold me. So yep, pumped. A lot of good things coming. So
yeah.
Dan's like, I'll be playing. Oh, I forgot to make Dan happy earlier when currently playing. You know what I reinstalled this morning earlier, Dan? Hitman 3.
Good job, man.
Why'd you install it?
So the guys I support over at RKG, they have this series, the three of them called Three. I won't go into this, but they call it Three Ways. Basically, they went through various levels of Hitman, and they take turns and they play each their own way, and all three of them play vastly differently, right? So it's kind of comical to watch them conquer, and assassinate people in different ways. And it just got me thinking like, oh, there's still a bunch of levels in Hitman that I didn't play because I only played the core of Hitman 3. So I missed the DLC and plus when they remade the earlier levels. So I was like, oh, I'm going to reinstall this and start goofing around with it again.
Did they add me as a killable celeb? Was that, you guys sent me a screenshot?
Oh, what was that?
Wasn't I a hunt? What, there was some like tie, I think they said like there's going to be a new
it was a new promotion.
Did we find out who that was?
Who it is? No.
Okay.
No, it looked like the little logo we use for you in our chat.
I've been doing a lot of mocap for that, so enjoy killing me. One of the options is you can just wait like a couple hours and I'll die on my own. So I think that's going to be really innovative.
Your heart just explodes.
Yeah, my heart just explodes if you just wait a little bit. So pretty good. Honestly, if you think about it, waiting is the ultimate way to kill your enemies.
Sure. Let them
There's
go.
some waiting in Hitman for sure.
Yeah, but anyway, that's what I meant to mention earlier. So I'm excited to dive back into it and have some fun. So I did want to ask you real quick, only because you know you're the guy. I'll ask you after the show. Don't need to talk about this.
It's fine.
Anyway, getting back into the swing of things over at SG. Like I said, check out our Savior List review of that game. It's up on the channel on the site. Finally did the Nathan Drake Prime 1 statue. You can check that out. I wrote an article on Xbox last week with some of the industry data. It actually got a lot of hits, so thank you for that. It was also referenced by Jez. It was referenced by Xbox Era yesterday with John's article as well. So, and I was reached out to by a lot of people about that. So thank you. You can check that out. It's not an opinion article. It's just me kind of showing the industry data, talking about some of the things Xbox has been talking about recently, Sarah and Phil and the like. So you can check that out. For the record, which if you follow SG closely, you know was me and Carl talking about technology, mostly Carl. So we're going to be doing an upcoming episode talking about some of the changes in console hardware, PS5 Pro potentially coming, Switch 2, and what's coming there. So you can check that out. Carl knows his stuff inside and out, so that's always fun. And then lastly, I'm also streaming again, running through Dark Souls 3 again. One of my favorite games, but playing for extra life. Yeah.
You get more and more like Dan every week on the show. Every week you get close because you know how he only plays like 3 games, but for hella long. Like every week it's like Elden Ring, Dark Souls 3, Halo 5 or Halo Infinite. You play like 3 or 4 games now.
Well, I didn't know what to stream, and I was like, I can stream Halo like normal. I could stream
Finish Romancevania.
Or don't.
you never wound up with your boo. We never got to see.
No, I did get pretty far, but I don't know where I ended on that one. But yeah. So anyway, but it's for Extra Life. I think I called it out before. The link is out there, but we're doing a big raising in April, so any contributions to that are welcome. So that's enough out of me. Travis, go ahead, shout it out, man.
Yeah, I got 5 reviews. I did 5 reviews in March, so that's a pretty busy month for me.
Is that all?
That's all, dude. Yeah, it was. Let's see, Outlast Trials, Contra, Operation Galaga, Tribes 3 Rivals, South Park Snow Day, and Outpost Infinity Siege. 5 games. Nice. So yeah, that was a fun month. This month I'm doing No Rest for the Wicked, early access, and another Crab's Treasure, the Souls-like game where you play as a crab underwater, which both sound pretty fun. So I'm going to have fun with that. You can look all month long for IGN First articles about Eternal Strands, which we are showing to the world, which has been super fun to work on. And then I've got I'm covering the Final Shape Destiny DLC gameplay reveal that's happening this week, and we'll see how that goes. So I'm honestly, all jokes aside, I know I sometimes am harsh on Destiny out of love because I love the game, but I am very hopeful that this ends up being the send off that fans deserve and have waited for 10 years. So I'm hopeful for that.
It should be a big moment, and it should be.
It should be. I really hope it is. So I will be covering that this week. And yeah, that's me.
Cool. Before Hogue, I hand it to you. We've got Don.
Make Bitcast a 3-hour podcast.
Approved.
Yeah.
Notice how we came in at a tight 2 hours the last time we were on?
We did. It's because it wasn't all 4 of us. That's why. When it's 4 of us,
yeah, because you couldn't stoke fires and yeah.
I would never. How dare you, sir? Don, thank you very much. Appreciate you. Hogue, shout it out.
Sure. Well, we just did a video on my channel where I interviewed my wife, who was on the jury of a murder trial here in Southeast Michigan. And so if you're interested in that process, I think it was a very good interview. And there's a lot of stuff in there that I didn't know because, frankly, as a lawyer, I'm almost never going to be invited to be on a jury. So I think it was a good interview. Check it out on the channel. And then we'll do more videos probably this week. Going forward, I don't know what we're going to talk about because the video game industry keeps surprising me. So we'll see. I might do a Hangouts and Headlines pretty soon. So if you like any of that, come check us out on YouTube. We have a lot of fun. And if you like paywalls or talking about industry drama, you can see that I just did a video for Last Stand Media that talks about Sweet Baby Inc. and all the fun that happens when we talk about consultancies over there. So you can check that out as well.
I'm sure the comments will be fantastic on that.
Yeah,
video.
no kidding.
I still try to bring reasonable minds may differ to all that, but we'll see.
As I complimented you on yesterday, I think you do a very good job in that vein. So it's probably the one thing about SBI I will actually watch. So looking forward to it.
I think it's a good conversation. I really do.
I missed it all. I missed it all when I was out, and then I came back and it was like everything's on fire, so
kudos to even talking about it, because I feel like even talking about it, people are going to label you one way or another.
Yeah, Cast Co-op got that last week, just talking about it openly. We got comments of all sorts, so it was lovely.
I think I jokingly say on that episode that someone's going to clip out something here, take it out of context, and attack one of us.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and that person's going to be me. I'm working on it. Later today,
on the channel
after the podcast. I'm listening. I'm looking. I'm gonna cut some words. Maybe do some AI deep fakes to put in some extra stuff you didn't say. And that's going to be going live on
with a big sponsored by Hogue Law.
Should turn them all into rabbits.
Homepage of IGN. We're going to get that to 350 million viewers. We're going to make sure everybody sees it. So very excited. I can do that, by the way.
Sounds like a project.
I have the power to just promote on homepage.
He's like, I have the power to ruin you.
Isn't that crazy? Like,
well, you have the power to hit the button, but I assume that there's a talking to that comes after that. So
yeah, there's going to be something else.
For sure.
You have the power to realize the consequences.
I don't know how long it would be live, and you could obviously see I was the person who did it in our history. So yeah, but I could.
There is no oversight at SG. We don't get the viewers, but there's no oversight. If I put some out there, I can leave it as long as I want.
All right.
You've been warned, IGN HR. Whenever you decide to sever ties, literally and figuratively, you want to take away that access first.
Yeah,
that's great.
Absolutely.
As someone who's worked in the corporate area, I can guarantee you that's what you want to do, because I've seen some things in my day. I
say this knowing the consequences. I'm such a security risk.
We did get one final super chat, which is appreciated.
Claude Simeon with the $2 super chat. Thanks for the Doki Doki LC
Literature Club.
Literature Club.
Literature Club. Okay, I don't know what the hell that is. Months ago. Great fun.
Great.
It is a mildly terrifying existential crisis of a video game that is also excellent.
I love that this is spreading. I spread it to Hogue. Hogue spread it to Claude Simeon. Now more people are going to have to go through this torment.
Doki Doki Literature Club. It is a popular game from what I understand.
It's very good. Aim's like, actually, that should have been the first dating sim you played. Because I even said Romancylvania wasn't that good. You were like,
no, it was more for the laughs than anything else. Yeah. But Claude Simeon, thank you very much to close us out with a super chat. Appreciate you. Chat, you've been awesome today. Anyone checking us out, we're glad to be back, all four of us properly. Thanks for hanging out and having some laughs with us today.
Hold on. Real quick, shout out to my Hawkeye women's basketball women playing for the championship today in about 1 hour. I don't know why they give them this weird time slot. Can't even put them in prime time for some reason. But good luck to Caitlin and all of her teammates, Gabby Marshall and Mara Davis. And
are you on a first-name basis with Caitlin Clark, Dan?
Yes, Caitlin, yes.
Look, I DM'd her right now. Just said good luck. Hope you well.
What she and Angel Reese and Paige Becker, everybody has done for this game this year. It's been amazing to watch, but it's crazy to now watch it come crashing down. Now that women's basketball has become a little bit more mainstream, you're getting the complete annihilation on the socials about just how terrible some people are, and the fighting back and forth, the toxic fandom, the jealousy. It's incredible. It's incredible to watch something just rise like meteorically in less than a year, and then at the very end where the championship is coming up today just get crashed down by a bunch of dumb babies.
You've arrived when you have haters.
Yeah, exactly. I guess that's
Travis. Are you like me right now that I didn't know any of this was going on?
Yeah,
You
no,
didn't see, the Diana Taurasi clips and things.
I'm totally used to this, Ains. Hogue asked how I play so many games. It's because I have such huge knowledge gaps in other areas, and so just like
I have no idea what you guys are talking about. I mean, I know there's a women's basketball game going on. That's the extent of it.
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
Clark is amazing. UConn is often whiny, and various members of prior teams are clearly a little bit, jealous of the youth and talent of other people.
Mm-hmm.
So life.
What's happening?
So life, yes. But like where it would have gone under the radar before, Caitlin Clark has in fact brought it up to like full ESPN levels of nonsense.
Okay. All right.
Yep. It's incredible.
Cool.
But it's awesome that they're playing. I don't think they're going to beat South Carolina. They are an incredible team, and Camila Cardoso is just so good. That whole team. Don Staley's an amazing coach. They've been rolling everybody. They're undefeated this year. So if they go in there and just give them an effort, I'll be happy at this point. But as a sports fan of the Cubs and the Bears, the Bulls, Blackhawks, I don't really get a whole lot of excitement and championships in my life. Definitely not with Hawkeye football. So I will take this where I can get it. Go Hawks.
The Blackhawks are the worst team in the NHL right now. So congrats on that.
So yeah, no problem. Even though they got apparently the best, player in the draft.
No, he's not the best player.
Generational talent. Yeah, no, the generational talent of
he's the new young kid. Yes.
Yeah. It's terrible.
Yeah.
But hey, I'll take what I can get. So thank you, Caitlin, for an amazing career and an amazing just run of just greatness. I don't care if people hate her. Not sure why they do. But
she's good.
She's really good. Yeah. Scored more points.
What I expected to end this on, but here we
anybody
tune in next week for the next part of the women's basketball cast.
Like what?
Hey, let me get my thing. Everybody else has got their thing. It's my thing.
No, it's fine. I expect a shout out is different from a 10-minute rant about women's basketball, but I'm with you. Do what you got.
I thought it was lovely.
All right, let's get
fair enough. Good luck to them. I don't have a dog in the fight.
All right, so root for the Hawkeyes. There you go.
Ains, are you okay, bud?
What happened?
We broke him.
It's actually not internet lag. That's just
Did I freeze?
It's just what he's doing in real life.
Okay. Well,
no, you're back.
Hour mark. My only last 3 hours, so we've got to go ahead and get out of here.
Go recharge, Ains.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go take a nap, so it's fine. We'll both recharge.
There you go. All right, gents. Good luck, Dan. Thank you, chat, for everyone hanging out with us. Awesome to be back. We will see you next week. Not 2 weeks this time. We will see you next week. Hope you have a great week of gaming, and we will talk to you then. Peace.
Thanks, everyone.